Sleepy town settling for the night, where the Owens women live their lives. And it's about time that the back porch light comes on at that house down the street, at that house on Magnolia Street.
Hello.
All right, I gotta plug my microphone in.
Ivy.
Shit. God damn. Shit's falling. Our pets' heads are falling off. All right, can you hear me? Am I crackling today, or do I need to restart this?
You sound fine.
Because I don't know what happened in that Griffin episode.
It was the Exorcist. No, the Poltergeist curse.
It was the Poltergeist curse.
For sure.
I'm telling you. And I told you I was having trouble editing the episode, right? Like things kept shifting on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
It's really weird.
So weird.
I hope it sounds okay. Oh no.
I still have to fix some things. There's just like a couple little like things like blips where it like gets cut off and I'm like, it's still like shit's crazy. But there was like a lot in that episode that we didn't even talk about, like as far as the Poltergeist curse is concerned.
Yeah, you said you found a whole.
So
what site was that?
Oh, it was a YouTube. It was the True Hollywood Story. I just took the transcript from there because there was a lot, and it was only part 2. I don't know where part 1 is. Part 1 is missing.
Oh
It's
my god.
somewhere in the ether.
Oh my god.
But only part 2 is up. But even part 2 was like juicy as fuck. I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff here that like we didn't even touch on.
Juicy.
And I think we should do a little bit of a bonus episode for the Patreon.
Yeah. Yeah, I do want to hear it. I want to hear all about it. I love me a
It's
cois.
nuts.
I
We
love
didn't even
me a
touch on-
spooky cois.
we didn't even touch on half the stuff. Like we didn't even dip the toe into the pool. I watched like maybe like 2 minutes into that thing and I'm like, holy shit, there's already so much stuff.
That's great.
Crazy shit. So yeah, that movie is for sure cursed. 100%.
I don't know if
A
it's
lot, and there were
mine.
more than 2 deaths.
Oh shit.
There were more than 2 cast deaths. There were like 5 freaking cast deaths.
Holy cow. In the same in
Maybe
like the
even more.
like that 10 years? Can you call me
Yeah.
back? It's really like laggy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
bye.
All right, let me
All right.
know if that's better.
Yeah. So far, it was like really like computery, glitchery, like
Really?
it's doing really weird stuff. It does not like us talking about that poltergeist thing.
Oh my god, we were talking about it. That's weird.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Okay, we're not going to talk about it anymore. And hopefully,
Fucking weird.
dude, wouldn't I know you probably don't want to wait that long, but would you want to do that bonus in person so there's no additional technical thing we have to deal with, like Wi-Fi or anything?
So you mean in Salem for our
Mm.
Halloween episode?
I mean in Salem, possibly.
Yeah, that would be freaking cool.
Something to think about. Unless you don't want to like wait that long, that's fine. But it might be a shit show to try and handle.
That's freaking weird. That's weird that it was fucking glitching out while we were talking about that.
It wasn't doing it for me on your end.
No,
Oh,
it didn't want me telling you. It didn't want me telling you shit.
This is like a MIB situation right now. Okay.
So weird.
Blah.
Wow.
Yikes.
It's haunted.
Hey Donna.
Hey witch. Hey.
Hey witch. Hey.
Colleen.
I really want to get that long haul trucker simulator now.
What is that game? Is that a game?
Yeah, it's a game, and you get like a console with like a steering wheel and like the shifter and everything, and the CV radio. CV.
Feel like
Whatever.
we need this game, and we need to like. I guess can we live stream playing that game?
Yeah.
So our patrons can watch us be the real Donna and Darlene.
I just love that she was like, "Oh, Peggy, where'd you go?" It's like, I got pulled up to heaven. I never saw the rapture before. It was incredible.
Like, what is this game? I wanna play it.
I want to play it too.
Do we have to pay for? What is that on? What is it
I
available?
have no idea. Probably Steam.
We're gonna have to do our research.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I feel like I haven't talked to you in a month, but it's only been a week.
We talk every day, but we haven't sat down to record in a week's time. And the last episode was so fun that it just was easy peasy to get through and edit. And
Was it Mugwort? What did we do last? It was
indeed,
Mugwort? Oh my god, that feels like a month ago.
Mhm.
This past week has been like insane.
Well, at the time of this recording, not to confuse everybody, but the tattoo episode just came out and I'm like, shit, we got to get this done and we got to get that edited. And I'm like, but there are going to be 3 other episodes in between that just we've blacked out.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. A lot happens between episodes, so it feels like a long time, but we've only talked a week ago, so.
A lot of revelations, a lot of discoveries, a lot of decisions, fan mail.
Yeah, and we're trying to plan our Salem trip, so super excited about that. We got some dates. Should we?
I'm going to explode. I'm so excited because you're so tiny. I'm gonna pick you up. I'm gonna spin you around. You could jump into my arms like Sally jumps into my arms.
I was gonna say, should we announce the dates so then anybody who wants to meet up with us can plan for those dates?
Sure.
All right.
We can announce it. We will be there.
Wednesday.
October.
Wednesday. Is that the 11th?
October. You got the Boston in you.
Wait a minute, hold on. I gotta look at a calendar. All right, so Wednesday, October 11th through Sunday, October 15th.
We're gonna be rampaging through the streets of Salem.
Gallivanting, high as balls.
Gallivanting, frolicking.
Mugwort.
If you want to get your mugwort fix, come and meet us in Salem, October 11th through the 15th.
I got the stuff. I'm Wormwood. I got the stuff. I'm the guy.
Wormwood.
I'm the guy that can get you the things.
As of right now, we're working on details of how we can maybe host an event, what we can do, and include you guys. And Mugwort and Wormwood may or may not be there. Darlene and Donna are going to be there. Oh my God. It's kind of overwhelming right now because there's no decisions besides the dates have been made.
Yeah.
But we know that lots of listeners are up in that area, so it might work out. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah. We would love to see anybody who wants to come out to hang out with us. Maybe have a raucous evening.
Maybe have some midnight margaritas thrown in.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You an exorcism.
Maybe if we talk about the poltergeist, we might have to. What the fuck, man? So creepy. I would love to do like a live thing this year, but I'm on board with you. Like I kind of just like want to go up there. You've never been there before. I know you kind of just want to put your feelers out. We just want to have a good time. And we just want it to be as casual as possible. So if you guys want to meet up with us, if you guys want to tag along with us, bar after bar, we don't know where we're going to be. We know where we're going to be.
Bar after bar. Bar after bar. Oh my gosh.
So it's gonna be a good time no matter what we end up doing. I know.
Yeah. We're loosey goosey. All right. Totally. I'm so excited to meet you.
I know.
I've known you. When did we decide we started talking?
Like 2016, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Almost 10 years.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
I like to round up.
But if you think about it, we didn't actually really get close until like last year, which is really strange. It's been about a year that we've been like
cultivating our friendship.
Yeah. And we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of this podcast.
And I hope you're prepared for your yearly review.
Oh, that's right. Do we have to give each other reviews?
Oh no.
Oh my God.
Your personal review. Oh,
you're a Sagittarius and you are flaky as fuck.
I know. Like, can we change this date? Are you free Thursday? It's almost once a month. I'm like, hey, can we change our record date to Thursday, please? Yeah. And you've been great. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. Every time I do so, trust me, that thought goes through my mind of like, she's never asked me to change a date. God damn it. You know?
That's because when you give me a date, I'm like, I'll make it happen, and then I'm up till 3 a.m. plugging away at my notes. I'm like, wow, I fucking should have done this sooner, but I'm just a flaky Sagittarius. But like I come through because my Virgo is like, no, you need to get this shit done.
You're good under pressure. I know. It only took what episode are we coming to? Like 36? Maybe around like episode like 29. I stopped worrying about like whether or not the notes looked done that week because I knew the night before you would have a shit ton of stuff to add.
Yeah, you're always like you're super like Virgo. You're like done, but like your notes, you brain vomit everything in there. Kind of like our songwriting process. You just like brain dump, brain vomit, and then you leave it to me to clean all the shit up.
As your Sally.
I put everything in the nice meticulous order, and Kristina just like here's all the things, and I'm just like, all right, now I have to make sense of this. So it works.
I hope it doesn't bother you too much. 36 episodes in.
No. This is our process by now. We got our system down, so it works. We found what works, and it works. So we'll just keep doing what works.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about chocolate today.
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Cholacha.
Chocolacha.
Dude, I'm probably the wrong person to be talking about the subject because unpopular opinion, I don't like chocolate.
Fucking
I
love
know. What was the other episode? Oh, tattoos, where you're like, I don't have any tattoos. Well, I don't fucking like chocolate.
There's going to be topics where one of us is unqualified to talk about what we're talking about. Then we have, the other person to pick up the slack. You have tons of tattoos. I have none. You hate chocolate. I fucking love it. But you know what? I just ended my period, so like my week long of like chocolate binging is kind of subsiding for the month. But when it's on, when that chocolate craving hits, it hits hard. And I'm like, I need a Milky Way. Give me a Snickers. Like, give me something.
I like those the Take Fives. I think those are good because they got like peanuts
Okay.
and like pretzels in them. Those I like. My dad used to work for Reese's, so we'd had chocolate all the time. He was a machinist mechanic at
Probably
Reese's.
why you hate it, because you're chocolated out from your childhood.
Even waiting for at our bus stop, like growing up, you could smell the Hershey's factory in the morning and it
shit.
stinks.
That's right. You're in
I don't know.
Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. So it was maybe 10 minutes down the road. And like in the morning, like chocolate in the morning air doesn't smell as good as it sounds like it smells. It's just, maybe it's connected to the trauma of like school.
Okay.
I don't love it. I just don't like it.
It's connected to the trauma of school. Well, they do say that like your scent, it's the scent that's tied mostly to memory, right? So when you smell something that takes you back to like not a very pleasant memory, then yeah, it could give you a little PTSD, I guess. I'm sorry that you no longer like chocolate because of that.
It's okay. More for you. Listen, but if we're out and about and like we're ordering like mocha lattes or as something in a drink, I like it. I like hot cocoa's good.
Yeah.
But I'm not picking up a Hershey's bar.
I can get down with some hot cocoa. I love chocolate in any form.
You don't discriminate.
No, I don't. Have you ever had an espresso martini?
Yes, I have. Those are good.
Those are good.
Those are good. But
yeah.
it's because of the alcohol.
Yeah. So, okay, so you like chocolate when alcohol's involved. So you might like chocolate rum cake.
Rum cake.
Amazing segue. Perfect. We're going to talk about that a little bit right now because I went on a cruise this past April and I brought Kristina back a little souvenir. So we're gonna segue right now. We're gonna bring a little fairy dust into the mix and we're gonna show you the clip of you kept the box.
It's on my floor. I haven't been in here in so long.
All right, we're gonna show you the clip of Kristina opening her chocolate souvenir that I brought back for her from the Bahamas. So take it away.
So you said this possibly has a connection to a future episode? Oh God. All right. So I guess in the future, Justina sent me a nice little package from her cruise, somehow connected with Blackbeard.
Yes.
And you know how I love nautical history.
Yes.
But she says it's edible and told me to get a fork. Or not edible. Well, I'm guessing edible.
Yes, it's edible.
Right. But as I am opening this, who knows when the episode's going to come out, but as I'm opening this, I turned the big 3-4 today.
I'll be right back.
I can hear you.
What?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Wait a minute.
It's kind of scary to be in a Zoom room with no audio from the other person and no video, but you know they can see you.
Okay.
Open. Do you have one too?
Yeah, I do.
You're such a good box creator. Put her together.
What?
Your boxes are always so lovely.
Okay, I'm here.
Ooh.
Did my herbs completely get smushed?
That's okay. They're so pretty. What kind of herbs did you send to me?
I think I put a card in there of like what's in there.
Ooh.
Can you read that card?
Wait a minute. Did you make this?
Yeah.
Food had been delicious.
Wait. Read it out loud. Read it out loud.
Oh, okay. Because I'm really good at reading. It's a quote I suppose from the book. Do you think this will win me over? She asked Samuel Diaz when she was done. The food had been delicious and he had spent hours making it. He also baked a chocolate cake using his mother's recipe, a sweet so drenched in rum a single slice could make a person tipsy. For some reason, Maria felt alive again and guilty that her heart still managed to beat, though it was broken in two. I don't have to win you over, Diaz shrugged. I already won. Cute. And then on the back it says, "Hey Witch, hey! Here's just a little something I came across amidst my adventures in the Bahamas. It will be sure to satisfy the cravings of your inner seafaring witch. I got one for myself too, so I can't wait to enjoy these together via Zoom. I'm also including some other goodies from my garden and some paper ephemera for you to use in your grimoire or BOS. I am also including some photos of those gnarly rock stacks I came across in the Ocean Bay Island." Ocean K Island?
Yeah, Ocean K.
Ocean K Island. Enjoy Sea Witch Justina. Thank you. Okay, all right, I'm ready.
Hey, K.
Oh, jeez. Blackbeard's Bahamas Finest Rum Cake.
Chocolates.
Chocolates.
Ah.
Wow. Hand glazed with Blackbeard's dark rum for a true taste of the island. I love
How
it.
cool is this box? Like, look at him.
It looks like a board game.
Right? Like, I don't even want to get rid of the box.
I love that so much. It's so weird that this is what you picked out, and I was just gushing over that Blackbeard episode that they were doing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I wanted to enjoy some rum cake with you.
Oh, thank you.
On your birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
She's got a candle for me.
Happy birthday
Thank
to you. Happy birthday, dear bad bitch.
That's me.
Happy birthday to you. All right. Blow it. Blow it out.
Oh, shit.
What candles? Shit.
You fucked up my wish.
I got candle wax all over.
You're so sweet to me. Thank you. This will last me 2 weeks.
That will
This
last
is a big. Look at this chunky thing. Maybe
I'm
not.
like-
It might last till the weekend.
I'm like, this is really small. That'll last me 2 seconds. I love me some chocolate cake and rum. Are you kidding me?
Tipsy cake for us today. Thank you.
A little picture first before I devour this.
As you
shit.
get older, you don't get birthday cakes as much. I appreciate you.
And I you.
All right, first bite.
You taking a bite?
Taking a bite, bruh.
Let me know how it is.
Oh, that's good.
Is good?
Mm-hmm.
You taste the rum?
A little bit. Oh, yeah.
We also had one, I think a pineapple cake, but it wasn't chocolate. But it was, I think it was pina colada flavored.
It's good.
Oh my god.
I'm reading the box.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, what's the box say?
It says, "Of Blackbeard, written by Captain Charles Johnson, 1724. His beard was black, which he suffered to grow of an exaggerant length as to breadth. It came to up to his eyes. He was accustomed to twist it with ribbons in small tails after the manner Ramillies' wigs and turn them about his ears. In time of action, he wore a sling over his shoulder with 3 bright pistols hanging in holsters like bandoliers and struck lighted matches under his hat, which appeared on each side of his face." My mouth is salivating. I'm like licking I'm like,
This cake is so good.
yeah, on each side of his face, his eyes, naturally looking fierce and wild, made him altogether such a figure that imagination cannot form an idea of fury from hell to look more frightful. Oh, there's a back part too. Remember the back part?
That's from A General History of the Pirates.
Mhm.
Captain Charles Johnson, 1724. There's like something on every. Is there something on every side? Oh, it says Blackbeard intimidated his enemies with a flag depicting a skeleton spearing a heart while holding an hourglass. And there's a little
They
picture.
go all about into flags on those episodes too, which is really cool.
Hmm.
Did you
Wait.
see our flag means death?
What?
Okay, they go into the flags on the last podcast on the left. They talk about all the pirate flags. But
Mm.
there's a show by the guys, Taika Waititi,
Mhm.
who did What We Do in the Shadows and
Okay.
directed Thor, whatever.
Right.
They did a show called Our Flag Means Death, and it's about Blackbeard and the gentleman pirate, whatever the fuck his name is. He was a real guy, but it was basically like the show is about like their friendship
Yeah.
and like how they actually like became like a bromance basically.
Okay.
Steed Bonnet is the other guy's name, and how Steed was basically like kind of a fake pirate,
Right.
and Blackbeard overtook his ship, but like to be nice because Steed was already really depressed. Blackbeard let him like keep pretending he was pirate when like Blackbeard was really calling the shots. But the show is
Yeah.
so fucking funny.
All right.
It's very like dry British humor, but check it out. What I think it's might be on Hulu.
So the other side of this box says, even though the days of Edward Teach and his exploits in the Caribbean have long since passed, his legend lives on today in the famous Blackbeard's Company, maker of the Caribbean Caribbean's most renowned rums, spirits, and award-winning rum cakes. These traditional cakes are as famous as the islands themselves. Every day since our founding on Grand Cayman in 1986, Blackbeard's master baker has meticulously followed the family recipes to create 7 unique flavors of the Blackbeard signature rum cakes. Every one is glazed by hand with Blackbeard's own Cayman Islands rum and uses only the freshest and finest ingredients. When I was on my cruise, we only had one stop, and it was at Grand Cay Island, and there was a souvenir shop, and there were all these little rum cakes that they were selling, and I saw the chocolate one, and I said, I need to get one for Kristina.
That bitch is gonna want some chocolate cake.
And what better time to enjoy this than enjoy some cake on your birthday?
Thank you so much. It's really good.
Right?
It's very good.
Savor it, enjoy it. You don't have to eat the whole thing now.
I know I have to stop at least half.
Mm-hmm.
I've already eaten half.
Mm-hmm. It kind of tastes like, remember devil dogs?
You
remember
I
those?
don't think so.
It was
yeah.
The chocolate
Like
cake with,
Twinkie
like,
things?
cream filling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Punky's trying to bang my door down right now. He's like, you have food in there. I hear you.
Food. This whole episode is just our lips smacking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, delicious. Yeah, I think we should do the Tipsy Rum Cake because it comes from Samuel and the nautical one. Doesn't it say he was born under the sign of water? Do we think he's a Scorpio or a Pisces?
I think he's a Pisces. So
I gotta stop. Look at it.
Look at that. All right. Enjoy that. Enjoy your day. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you.
I love you too. And
This was a great day.
This was so fun. You guys don't know this because this is on a completely different episode, but we just got done doing an interview with David Spellman Baker, and we're talking about the Sudbury pilot. That'll probably be out by the time this comes out.
I know. That'll give them an idea of how chaotic the schedule is for recording.
It's like that movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever it's called, that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much sums up our podcast. And
we get it in when we can.
Right, exactly.
Today's the day. I mean, perfect way to start my birthday is filled with practical magic, you, and cake.
And cake.
It's perfect.
Rum cake.
Rum cake.
So, go to your bookstore, enjoy your day, and we'll catch up when we catch up.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye. All right, welcome back. So, retrospect, Kristina, what did you think of the chocolate rum cake?
When I initially opened it, I was like, oh, nice. I'm going to have a couple bites. I ate half of it.
Nice.
I ate half of it and put the rest in the fridge and like savored the rest of it for that. I had like one bite for the next like 3 days.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate it. I still have the box. It's quality box.
Isn't it a nice box?
Blackbeard, a little handsome Blackbeard giving me the stank eye on the front.
I love how there's like information on there about Blackbeard too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know me too well.
We're gonna do an episode. We want to do an episode on nautical lore and Blackbeard and all that stuff. Eventually we'll get to that, right?
Yeah, of course.
We are planning an episode like that. But yeah, we just wanted to share a little bit of that chocolate rum cake goodness with you guys. That we were able to enjoy. Hopefully you were able to enjoy it vicariously. We're sorry we couldn't offer you a piece, but we have a chocolate rum cake recipe a little later on that we're going to share with you, courtesy of Alice Hoffman herself. And I think we even have one from the Enchanted Living when it was Faerie Magazine, the Practical Magic issue. We have a recipe from that as well, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this whole episode is tied around this chocolate cake that keeps showing up. It shows up more than we thought in the movies. Right. And continuously throughout the books, and even has its own little origin story, you know? Yeah. So we're going to dive into that and how it's connected to practical magic and self-care, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we also have a song-a-sode coming out. Is it right after this? The chocolate?
I think so.
Brownies for Breakfast song-a-sode? I think
yes.
we worked it out that way. So yeah, the next episode after this, you guys will hear us actually talking about our next song that we want to present to you guys. And that song is called Brownies for Breakfast. And it kind of talks about how the aunts, they love their brownies for breakfast and they use it as a form of self-care. And we wrote a song about it. So we're going to share that with you on our next song-a-sode, which comes out next week. So
do you want to share a little clip of it?
Yeah, we could share a little clip of it so you show you guys what you're in for next week. So here it is. Here's a little clip of Brownies for Breakfast. And tune in next week to hear a more in-depth discussion of how we wrote that song.
Hey, little witch, let's go inside and do some spells. Yeah, life's a bitch, but the cards they fell. We've learned to live with what we were dealt with.
All right, we're on top of it. Before we start, do we have any shout outs? Do we have anybody we want to thank?
I don't know if we have gotten any Instagram messages as of late, but I told you this morning I fell down the TikTok rabbit hole. I just like opened it for a second. I was like, what's going on Magnolia Street? Because I haven't logged into that TikTok in I don't even know how long. And we had some comments. We had some tags. Shout out to Melancholy Mermaid for tagging us on the TikTok video of Billy Zane sword fighting with his cane in that Titanic behind the scenes video. People are tagging us in Billy Zane stuff now, which I think is hysterical.
I love that that's a clip that is accessible to people who may not know he's not a bad guy.
Right.
He's not really a bad guy.
Right. He just played one. I love that video that you posted, the TikTok video of that guy who's like rooting for the villain.
Funny.
That was great.
Oh my god. You tell him, Cal.
Yeah, that's the scene where he's flipping the table on Rose, right?
Yeah.
He's pissed off at Rose. And he's like, that guy's just watching, like, just rooting for Cal the whole time.
He's like, you were tired? Of course you were tired because you were rollicking with the peasant boy.
Frogging with the peasant boy. Oh my god.
We should write a fan fiction where Billy Zane is a peasant boy. Crossovers. I can see it coming.
There's so much more fan fiction to be written. And then there was one from a user named Chalito Lopez who said, because of y'all, I read 3 out of the 4 books that I didn't know existed. The aunts have a brother? Mind blown.
That's so awesome.
Right?
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I was falling down the rabbit hole and just reading some of the comments. Here's one by Kristina White. They say, okay, so in the books, Maria used dreams to talk to her daughter when she was kidnapped. So I think they were dream connecting.
Talking about Sally and Jillian. I believe our astral projection theory.
Oh, yeah. That's the video. That video right now has like 15K views. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's just because it's like, not maybe it's an unpopular opinion. It's like almost too far out there and people disagree with it.
Yeah,
you know?
so maybe we need to start having more unpopular opinions. Get people like our stuff, like comment our stuff more.
I think we had another one that I just was never able to go back and find, but yeah, we'll start posting some more. Was
it the rabbit one, the Magic and Lore, where we were talking about how Martha Chase?
It might have been.
Yeah.
I thought it was tied to Jillian somehow.
Sills Club. By the way, we have merch. Go buy
it. A friend of mine wore our "It's All Connected" tank top to her Reiki sampler day. She's a Reiki master, and she wore "It's All Connected" shirt.
I love
Thanks,
that.
man.
That's awesome. Did anybody?
Not that anybody asked about it, but she was prepared. She said she was prepared to answer questions.
That's awesome. I love how we have a walking like street team out there just doing the job for us.
Team of one.
Team of one. Well,
I think Daisha has a t-shirt too.
Yeah, I think Daisha did get some merch.
Nice. Go check out our Teespring. Yeah. It will be in our show notes, and we have like 3 or 4 different designs. Jesus. All right, take it away. Just go. Just go.
All right, so we're gonna dive right in. We have some movie and book mentions that we want to start off with, and I guess we'll start with book 1 because that came out before the movie. And just for some context, I want to see and showcase kind of like how chocolate made its appearance in book 1, because when I was going through the book mentions, I'm like, that's weird. The Tipsy chocolate cake does make an appearance in book 1, but it isn't mentioned much. But then like the last 3 books is like Tipsy chocolate cake, Tipsy chocolate. And she like amps it up in the last 3 books.
Okay. All right.
So in Practical Magic, the book, this is the first book in the 4-part series. Page 34. Antonia was given the last name of Owens at the aunt's insistence in accordance with family tradition. The aunt set about spoiling the child immediately, adding chocolate syrup to her bottles of formula, allowing her to play with unstrung pearls, taking her into the garden to make mud pies and pick chokeberries as soon as she could crawl. So right away, the aunts are adding chocolate syrup to their baby bottles. Like, what?
It is bouncing off the walls.
Yeah. Page 51. Every summer in August, they would visit the aunts. They would draw in their breath as soon as they turned the corner onto Magnolia Street and could spy the big old house with its black fence and green-tinted windows. The aunts always made a tipsy chocolate cake and gave Antonia and Kylie far too many presents. There were no bedtimes, of course, and no well-balanced meals. No rules were put forth about drawing on the wallpaper or filling the bathtub so high that bubbles and tepid water sloshed over the sides and dripped down through the ceiling of the parlor.
That scene reminds me of, do you remember the House and Hope Floats? How
Yes.
it's like at the end of a street, kind of like that. That's what it reminds me of, is like there are people around, but it's like, boom, main character.
Yeah. So that's the first mention of the Tipsy chocolate cake
Mhm.
in this entire series. Page 60. They shake their heads and pity her, and some of the women on the block, especially the ones who grew up with older sisters, bring over homemade brownies and chocolate cookies, forgetting what a plateful of sweets can do to a young girl's skin, thinking only of their own relief from the sound of crying, which echoes through hedges and over fences.
And this is when everybody's kind of feeling sorry for Kylie, I think, because Antonia's such a bitch.
Probably.
I think so.
He is such a bitch. Page 123. Scott is home from Harvard for summer vacation and is delivering chocolate syrup and marshmallows topping, as well as sprinkles and maraschino cherries and wet walnuts. He'd been the smartest boy ever to graduate from their high school and the only one to ever be accepted at Harvard.
What are wet walnuts?
It's like a ice cream topping. It's like, I think it's like honey or something. It's like drenched in something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty
Like a
good.
marinated walnut.
Yeah, kind of
Oh,
like
okay.
like a maraschino cherry, like how it's like just like marinated in the juice.
Yeah,
You
the
know, kind of
juice.
like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are you big on Sunday toppings? I love me some toppings.
I love a topping.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Page 128. Every time he breathes, horrible things come out of his mouth. Little green frogs, drops of blood, chocolates wrapped in pretty foil but with poisonous centers that give off a foul odor each time he breaks one in half. And this was in reference to Jimmy's ghost that Kylie was seeing in the yard. But that chocolates wrapped in pretty foil with poisonous centers, that reminds me of those belladonna truffles, right?
Totally. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Page 166. He, talking about Ben, should be bringing her the damn cake. As matter of fact, a chocolate chip pound cake with maple frosting, or mocha if that's the best he can do.
Maple frosting. That's the kind of frosting I had on my cake at my first wedding.
Is it?
It was so good.
Yeah. For Avi's 30th birthday, we went to a like a whiskey lounge and I baked him a maple bacon cupcake with candied bacon on the top.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
freaking good. So
Yes,
freaking
ma'am.
good. And the little wrappers on the bottom were little mustaches. It was
Are we just gonna eat our way through Salem?
probably.
Yeah.
It's to be expected. Oh,
Okay.
Salem, the food up there is so freaking good. I can't wait. Page 169. Still, it's a pretty night, and the foul smell of the puddles at the far end of the field where mosquitoes have been breeding all summer is replaced by the scent of chocolate frosting from the cake Kylie is about to deliver. And that's when she makes that cake for Gideon, right? And she's taking it through the she's walking it to him, and that's
Yeah,
where
she's walking down the turnpike.
Yeah,
As
and
like I'm sorry.
right, that's when they were like she wanted to make up with him because they were fighting or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she almost gets attacked by those strange men.
The man's, yep.
Yeah. Page 170. She can still smell the frosting, though. It's all over her hands. She will never again be able to eat chocolate. The scent of it will set her heart racing. The taste will turn her stomach. Usually it takes Kylie 12 minutes to get there from her house, but that's if she's running and not carrying a large chocolate cake. Tonight, she doesn't want to drop the cake, so her pace is measured as she walks past the gas station and the shopping center where there is a supermarket. Yeah, that's when she's walking the cake to Gideon.
Yeah, and so two guys like see her outside a bar and they start catcalling her and eventually start chasing her, and they chase her through the field. And she's known for being fast, but she's trying to save this cake, and eventually she chucks the cake, but it's kind of all over her, and she kind of outruns them, outmaneuvers them, and runs to her sister who works at the ice cream shop. And this scene to me was like very unnerving when I first read it, because I was like 12. I don't know from a young age if this is most girls' experience, but like you're always taught how to be careful in those situations from 12, 13. She's turning 13 in this book.
Yeah.
And she knows, like, you just know the evils of humanity already, which is so sad.
Yeah.
And what a scary situation to be in.
Have
Minding
you
your own
ever-
goddamn business.
Have you ever had an experience like that?
Not being chased.
There's only one
Have
that I
you?
can think of. I think I was like 23 or 24. I was on my way to my boyfriend's house, some towns away, so I had to drive on the highway. And I was by myself in my car. It was broad daylight. But, I noticed that there was a couple guys in this like box truck, like could have been like a moving truck. And every time I switched lanes, I noticed that they were switching lanes. And, you know, I would accelerate to like kind of try to get away from them. And they kept accelerating and they like came up like to the side of me. And like they were like looking at me. They were obviously at that point, like they were definitely pursuing me. And
Oh,
I
man.
was just trying to lose them on the fucking highway, driving at
Yeah.
a high speed, mind you. And I'm driving faster to try to like get them the fuck off my tail. Finally, I got off the exit and they kept driving. Like they stayed on the highway. But for like that entire 20-minute drive, I was fearing for my fucking life that these guys were
Sure.
gonna run me off the road or
Yep.
do something.
Yep.
And I was so fucking that like I will never forget that. So scary.
I'm so sorry.
So scary.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Do you grow up with the teaching of like if you get into your car at night, try to unlock it from as far away as you can or with your beeper and jump in because there could be somebody under your car who's going to slash your ankles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like,
And
guys.
it's still to this day, even in broad daylight, even
Mhm.
with all the human trafficking that's fucking going on nowadays, like I get in my car and I hit the lock button right away.
Dude, I hate that my car, you have a 2011. Does yours, when you put it into park, automatically unlock?
I don't know, but it automatically locks when I go above like 5 miles per hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if I forget to lock it, it'll automatically, which I never forget to lock it. I lock that shit as soon as I get in my fucking car because I'm so paranoid.
I just hate that. Like, I'll go into like a gas station or wherever and I park it. I'm not getting out right away and it unlocks my door. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Every single time. Yeah, guys, don't chase people on the highway. Don't do that.
Yeah, not cute. That is
Not
if
cute.
you're into a girl, that is not a way to pursue her.
Weird flex.
Yeah. Fucked up. So fucked up.
Not to get too derailed, but like just reading that initially as a child, it was surprising to hear it in a book because I think hearing it from parents, how to be careful, they're, oh, it's my parents, you know, and you do what they're saying, but you kind of write it off. But then even though nothing, quote unquote, happened, the intention, it's not lost on a 12-year-old reading that story.
Right.
So,
Be careful out
anyway.
there, girls.
Yeah. All right, continue.
Okay. So page 251. But the companies arrived anyway. Jillian can feel their presence. The air is as dense as chocolate cake, the good kind, made without flour. Do you think where it says the good kind, it means the kind with the rum?
Yeah.
Alcoholic kind?
Of course.
Page 258. All the children's parents attended the party, bringing cookies or cakes or bowls of eggnog sprinkled with nutmeg. The aunts came late, wearing their black coats. Jillian had hoped they would remember to bring a box of chocolate chip cookies or perhaps a Sara Lee cake, but the aunts weren't interested in desserts.
What? Oh, yeah, because they were there for business.
Business. And then the last mention in Practical Magic is page 267. Ben stays until 11. He fixes instant chocolate pudding for dessert, then teaches Kylie and Antonia and Aunt Jet how to build a house of cards and how to make it fall down with a single puff of air. So that's pretty much it from the Practical Magic book. So now we're going to talk about the movie, since the movie was released shortly after the book.
Okay.
I didn't think there was going to be a lot in the movie, but I actually, when I was combing through the movie, I found a lot more than I thought I was going to find, just because like when you're watching the movie, we've all probably watched the movie a million times over, but I feel like our focus always tends to go toward the same things unless you're really looking around and looking for other things.
True.
So I found a lot more chocolate than I was thinking I was going to find. The chocolate cake is only referenced in the movie. I put about 2 or 3 times, but I found about 5 mentions and appearances here that we're gonna deep dive on and kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit now. So the first time is in the very beginning when the credits are floating on the screen. After Franny sets the stage for the Death Watch Beetle and the whole curse spiel, the camera shows a young Jillian and Sally arriving at the aunt's house on Magnolia Street. As Franny and Jet are welcoming the girls with their suitcases, Franny's voiceover can be heard saying, "In this house, we have chocolate cake for breakfast, and we never bother with silly little things like bedtimes or brushing our teeth."
Yeah.
That line, just like as I was doing the research for this, like this morning, I just had a revelation.
What?
So the aunts make it clear in that intro that they don't bother with silly things like bedtimes or brushing their teeth. Do you think that's why when Sally goes into her like introverted cave after Michael dies and she stops doing her whole self-care regimen, she stops brushing her teeth, kind of like reverting back to her childhood self?
Wow.
Which is why Jillian's like, dude, you need to fucking brush your teeth. Your breath stinks.
That's so weird that it's mentioned so much.
Right?
Brushing your teeth is mentioned. that
Right.
many times.
And did you notice that, like, when Sally arrives on Magnolia Street with the girls, she reiterates to them, she's like, teeth will be brushed before bed, and you do your homework,
Because it's the
she,
responsible
yeah,
thing to do
she's
that she had to learn how to do on her own.
exactly. She's
Wow.
directing her children to brush her teeth, yet she's not even taking care of herself. So I
Wow.
just had that revelation, like, oh my God, she's reverting back to her old childhood self during her traumatic experience losing her husband. And it just like the aunt's voices just flashed in my head, like,
Wow.
we don't bother with brushing our teeth. And Sally's like, all right, well then I guess I don't have to anymore.
Yeah. It's not worth it. Why the fuck bother? Why
Right.
bouother?
And then Jillian's like, no, but you should.
Yeah.
Your breath
Which
fucking
is
stinks.
which is saying something from Jillian.
Exactly. Anyway, yeah, so I just thought that was an interesting little revelation. So the second time chocolate is mentioned or seen, this is in the scene where a young Jillian and Sally are having the garden tea party with the aunts in the intro. The credits are still, fading on the screen. Jet says to Sally, "Hey, little witch, let's go inside and do some spells." In the very next scene, when they are actually inside doing some spells, Sally can be seen with her adorable little angel wings. She has her spell book propped up in front of her, and she does her little candle trick, which we see sporadically throughout the rest of the movie. Have you ever noticed that in this scene, her mouth is smeared with chocolate?
Yes, disgusting.
Isn't it?
So is Jillian's. Yeah.
Yeah. But did you ever notice all the treats surrounding her?
I noticed she was eating like chocolate covered strawberries. That's all I really noticed.
All right, so scroll down a little bit. I included a screenshot. So while I'm reading this, you check this out. Okay.
Ooh.
So,
Ooh. Lots of cookies and breads and donuts and fruit.
Yeah, so to her right is a small glass, I'm assuming with milk, since we see a larger glass of milk in front of that, which it's probably from what that smaller glass must have been poured from. So then to the right of that smaller glass, it looks like it could be a small chocolate cookie, but it also looks like it could be a rose petal. I'm not sure. What does that look like to you?
It could be a cookie. Yeah, it looks like a cookie to me.
Okay. All right. So in the foreground, we see more baked goods. Right in front of her, there are some candles, and the one behind the spell book and the one further to the left of the screen, there are a couple of what look like beeswax candles stuffed into like what appear to be large chocolate cupcakes. Right?
Oh, wow. I never noticed that was their holders. Damn.
Right. So they're literally using chocolate cake as candle holders, which is hysterical to me.
How whimsical.
Right? And in between those two candles, it looks like a couple of mason jars filled with what looks like it could be cocoa powder.
Yeah.
The larger one to the right is open with a spoon hanging out of it as if it's still being used. And then right under those mason jars, there's a small white bowl with what looks like chocolate sauce. Again, a spoon hanging out of it as if it were still being used. This could have been the very bowl that Sally was eating from, which caused what looks like the chocolate sauce smeared all over her mouth. Then behind the candle all the way to the left, there is a platter in the background with what looks like a tray of more chocolate muffins or small cakes, and they kind of look like they're dusted with cocoa powder. However, behind the mason jars of cocoa powder, there is a larger bowl with what looks like fresh fruit because #balance.
I guess.
The aunts are like, all right, you're eating all this chocolate. Let's throw some fruit in there.
Maybe it's those like chocolate filled oranges.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
No, I see it. It's very pretty. It brings that pop of color.
Very colorful.
I want to go watch this scene now because I know there's another from behind her, when they're focusing on Jillian standing on the table. I'm sure you can see so much more of that spread. Yeah,
so the chocolate in this scene is full force. I never noticed all the chocolate surrounding little Sally in this scene. Have you?
And look, white tablecloth.
White
tablecloth. What?
Don't the aunts know that white tablecloths are never a good idea with children?
It's magic. They don't give a shit.
They don't give a fuck. There are no rules, right? They made it
Wow.
very clear there are no rules in this house.
Right.
So I always just tended to focus on Sally and the spell that she was doing. So I just thought it was interesting that all this stuff, just as we were like doing the research for this episode, all this stuff just like popped out at me. I'm like, whoa, I never
Chocolate everywhere.
Yeah. So after there's a knock at the door and the aunts tell Jilly that they're like, oh, your talents will emerge in time soon, Jilly Bean or whatever. There's a close-up of Sally, and now she's eating a strawberry, probably from that fruit bowl, which she was probably dipping into that bowl of chocolate sauce that you saw. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. All of that chocolate that just made its appearance. Yeah. So in the Dove spell, that love spell with Irene, that woman that comes to the back door, in this scene, when the young girls are peeping the whole thing from that windy staircase, they can both at this point be seen with chocolate sauce on their faces now.
They also have it like on their knuckles. And like I was even thinking, I was like, how are they keeping those dresses clean? But you can see there's chocolate on Jillian's, on her dress.
Yeah, they're just a hot mess. Yeah. Chocolate everywhere.
Freedom.
Right. And as a child, I'm sure that's like the coolest freaking thing to, experience. Like my aunts give us chocolate and they don't make us brush our teeth. Like they're probably having a blast as kids in this house.
My dad, get this, like he will have probably like 4 or 5 chocolate chip cookies for breakfast daily, and that's all he'll eat for breakfast. And I think bro only brushes his teeth once a day.
Is he an Owens?
I know. He's a Croatian.
Is he an Owens? All right, we only have 2 more movie mentions here. At about 27 minutes, when Sally comes home from a long day of work, right before she tells the girls, where she's like, go shut all the windows, the storm is coming. The aunts are watching Kylie and Antonia. Antonia is rocking her mouse ears. Jet can be seen frosting cupcakes with chocolate, and Antonia can be seen licking a whole spoon of it. Spoon of this chocolate. She's got like a huge wad of chocolate on that spoon. The girls are inquiring about their grandparents, Jack and Regina, and the whole curse. Sally walks in on this discussion and asks what's going on. Jet lies and says, we're making toast is all. When clearly, didn't you like mark me about this before? Clearly they're making chocolate fucking cupcakes. like
why fucking lie?
Why did they just say they're making chocolate cupcakes? Why even say you're making toast? And then Kylie can also be seen licking a spoon of chocolate frosting when Sally tells him to go check all the windows. Question, do we think that this chocolate frosting is loaded with rum?
Yes.
And these girls are just getting drunk as fuck off rum. And do we think that's why Kylie tells her mom in that one scene that Antonia rides around town with her mouse ears on, all liquored up? Because it's probably this rum chocolate frosting. I never made that connection before.
Unless you read the books, you don't know that there is rum in that chocolate.
Right.
And then you can kind of put those two things together. And as far as the toast coming up, like if it was morning, maybe that would make more sense.
Yeah.
But it is the dead of night. Why are you making toast? And also, throwback to our goofs and trivia, that toaster does not make a pinging sound. But for that magical essence, they had to have something go off on its own at the perfect time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's Jet's magic that makes it ping,
But why toast? Oh, maybe if it was Eggos or something that you can put chocolate on? I don't know. You can put chocolate on toast, I guess. Nutella.
Ooh, I love a Nutella anything. I just had a pliable the other day for the first time, and I got a strawberry banana Nutella granola bowl. It was fucking lit. So freaking good. But anyway, the movie does not reference rum involved in the chocolate in any way, and they never refer to it as Tipsy chocolate cake.
Yeah, or Tipsy anything. It's just brownies for breakfast or chocolate cake for breakfast, and that's it.
Yeah, but they never mention the rum in the chocolate cake. There's no real origin about it. But in the books, we find out that it's got a much deeper origin, which we'll talk about in a second. But the last movie mention is about 43 minutes in, when the aunts and the girls return from their solstice celebration. Jillian is there with her fresh shiner. The aunts see it. Frances says, a little mugwort will fix that right up. And then Jet says, whoever he was, he'll get what he deserves. And then Jillian gets a little sullen for a second before Jet grabs Jillian's arm and continues, I think a brownie for breakfast will fix you right up. And Jillian responds in shock, a brownie? And Jet reassures her, a brownie. Jillian says, you're still doing that? Jet is in shock. Of course we're still doing that. What do you mean? You've been away for too long. And Jillian screams, some things never change in this house. Did you ever notice at the end of that scene, Jet says, where are they?
I thought it was Jillian. She was like, well, where are they? I thought that was Jillian saying that.
Because I'm thinking like maybe Kylie and Antonia are eating all them brownies, all that chocolate cake if they can't find them.
Maybe it is Jet. Cute.
So yeah, those are pretty much all of the mentions or appearances of chocolate in this film. But to reiterate, there's no mention of the rum, right?
No mention of the rum.
Mention of the rum. It's never referred to in the movie as Tipsy chocolate cake. So we're gonna fast forward now to Rules of Magic. That's the next book, right?
I need some chocolate.
I need some chocolate. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. In Rules of Magic, the chocolate doesn't come in till like 179. And it says Vincent worked briefly as a waiter at the Gaslight. Wait a minute. Did you watch Mrs. Maisel?
No, not yet. No.
I think that's their main place is performing at the Gaslight.
Oh yeah?
I think so. Okay. I'm so sorry.
Where
All
is the
right.
gas? Where is that? Is that like a
New
popular?
York.
Okay, so that's like a popular place then.
You know New York better than I do.
I've never heard of the Gaslight.
Okay.
That
Where
must be. Is that? I'm wondering if that's in the Village because this Rules of Magic that took place in Greenwich Village, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Okay. Where he gratefully ate for free from their quirky menu, date nut bread and cream cheese, grilled cheese, beef burgers, pink lemonade, and a series of sundaes he sneaked home for Jet. Mint, brandy, rum, chocolate, and vanilla. He'd have to run all the way home to Greenwich Avenue so the ice cream wouldn't melt and leave sugary puddles on the sidewalk. And 184, now he was late for his own birthday dinner. Jet was making his favorite meal to celebrate, coq au vin with potatoes and fresh peas. Franny had baked Aunt Isabelle's Tipsy chocolate cake, the mere scent so intoxicating a person could get drunk on it. Still, he wasn't ready to face the celebration and pretend to be happy.
So the Rules of Magic came out how many years after Practical Magic, right? A long time.
So many.
Yeah. So a lot of years in between. I think it's interesting how in Rules of Magic, it's Aunt Isabelle's Tipsy cake.
Right. They don't know how far back it really goes.
Right.
Mm,
Exactly.
good point.
Just thought that was interesting.
The same page it says, you know, you were both thrilled when I was born. Oh, this is Vincent, I suppose, talking. Or did you hire that nurse to get rid of me? I could forgive you if you tell me there's a Tipsy chocolate cake. Vincent said, far more upbeat than usual, delighted to find he could be surprised by fate. On page 202, Regina looked up at her and smiled. You're the good witch, she said. Franny laughed. She certainly never thought of her that way. Is this, it is Regina.
Was little, right?
Okay. Certainly never thought of herself that way. Still, she was charmed. Have you ever heard of a tipsy cake? She asked. Regina shook her head no. Why, it's absolutely delicious. It's the most chocolatey chocolate you'll ever taste. I think I'll make one. And on page 206, when the chocolate cake was ready, they had it hot from the oven, served with mounds of vanilla ice cream. Am I allowed to have that? Regina asked. Of course, Vincent told her. Always remember, he whispered, live a lot. Regina ate most of her cake. You can have the rest, she told Vincent, as she set to work on a drawing of Harry and Wren. In her rendering, the two were best friends who held each other's paws. 215. Vincent and William flew to San Francisco, a city cast out of a dream. It was the summer of love. Free love and free society had called 100,000 people to the city. There were indeed flowers everywhere, and along the bay the scent of patchouli and chocolate infused the air. Page 224. Let's bring out dessert, April said. If I'd known you were coming, I would have made Aunt Isabelle's Tipsy chocolate cake. Instead, we have raspberry mousse. Page 230. So Charlie stayed. Who's Charlie? The dog?
I forget.
So Charlie stayed and waved. Who the hell is Charlie?
I
don't remember, but he waved as Jet got on the bus, and Jet waved back, and she realized she was starving and hadn't eaten all day. She was glad to have chocolate cake her aunt had sent along and grateful to have been convinced that forgetting her loss would be worse than the loss itself. So she sat there remembering everything from the beginning of her life to today. By the time she recalled the pale yellow of the daffodil she'd picked that morning, she had reached New York.
Wait, hold on. Charlie. They're on page 102. Isabelle said Charlie is here. Charlie Merrill.
Oh, the handyman?
The handyman. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Yep.
So 269, I don't mind if I have to beg for your help, if that's the way things are between us, she said. Then she added, do you want a slice of chocolate cake? She had made it that very morning, and the scent was intoxicating. They both felt mildly drunk just from the smell. I'm not sure who that is. I think that's April.
That Emily. Oh, when Halen was gonna marry that Emily bitch.
Oh, listen, Emily didn't do anything wrong.
She didn't. She was just there.
She's just there. Wrong place, wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time. But Franny ain't happy about it. So
no, jealous.
Yeah. So that paragraph is in reference to Franny and Halen, I guess, having that uncomfortable conversation about him marrying that Emily bitch.
Okay. On page 308, she thought of Vincent playing I Walk at Night for the first time, of April visiting with Regina and eating chocolate cake in the kitchen, of the plumber who did work for them in exchange for a love spell, and of the night when Vincent came home and told them he was in love. In 315, Franny had made that rash donation to the library, and there was no shop to help them pay the bills. She thought of baking for profit, but it was so time-consuming. Her biscuits were chewy and probably wouldn't sell, and the ingredients of the Tipsy chocolate cake were so costly. The bars of chocolate, the extra fine aged rum, they'd never bring in a cent. 3:54, she spent her birthday under the covers, even though the box of Ladurée Royale that always came to her from Paris on that day had arrived, and the girls knew there would be delicious macaroons inside, a treat to be savored. First, a pale orange cookie that was apricot, then a green pistachio. The chocolate, of course, then the best of all, pink ones that tasted like roses.
Do you like macaroons?
I don't know. I know I've had them before, but they were kind of forgettable.
Aw, they're so cute.
They're very cute.
They're the cutest little morsels. Me and Avi, they're very hard to make. There's like a learning curve. Me and Avi
You tried to make them?
we made them one year. We made them for like a couple months for like a couple different holidays, and he perfected them.
That's awesome.
I kind of just like was there to oversee the process, but he's the one who really perfected the art because it is very time consuming, calls for a lot of ingredients, very expensive.
Wow.
And you need a lot of patience because you're going to fuck up the first few batches. Guaranteed.
But he also has that very technical brain of I'm going to figure out the best way to make this the easiest.
Yeah, he saw it as a challenge. He took it on and
good for him.
He nailed it. By the time like New Year's rolled around, like he nailed it. And then that was the last time we ever made them.
Were they all different colors?
Yeah, for Christmas we made a couple different kinds. I think we made, well, first of all, they're all egg white pistachio based.
Okay.
You make the shells out of the pistachio and the egg whites.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the cream, you can fill them with whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a couple renditions, and I think I don't remember what we did for Christmas, but for New Year's, I know we made like a bourbon cream, like a center cream.
Oh.
And the shell we made with black food coloring.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was like these like really cool black, like matte black, I'm talking.
Did it stay in your mouth?
I don't remember. I don't think so. But the inside was so good, like that bourbon cream, amazing. Amazing. And we gave them out as favors we did like a 2020 19 Roaring 20s themed New Year's Eve party that year.
Adorable.
When we came into
That's so cool. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then little did we know that 3 months later, pandemic would have been the last hurrah.
Literally. What?
For a while.
That's a perfect theme.
Yeah, we went out with a bang. We went out with a bang.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's
anyway,
awesome.
Not to get too off topic about macaroons.
That's the second time Gatsby came up in like the last 2 weeks. No, we talked about it at the Griffin episode.
Yeah, that's
with
right.
his dad being like wanting to have the Gatsby complex.
That's right.
Page 354 to 355. They packed their suitcases, promising to bring home presents and chocolate bars. The girls stood at the window waving, and they watched their parents dance on the lawn before they waved back and headed off for their trip. And I think this is right before Sally and Jillian's mom and dad pass away.
Mm-hmm.
Page 363. Is it macarons? That was our mother's favorite. She always got a box sent from Paris on her birthday. Jet and Franny exchanged looks. Did she? Jet said. Well, this time it's chocolate cake, the best you'll ever have. And then on 365, standing on the porch where the light was always turned on, Sally felt her aunt's loss as well. Franny lowered her gaze so that the girls wouldn't see tears in her eyes. She thought children were better behaved if they had a little fear and respect. Okay. But rules were never the point. It was finding out who you were. In the kitchen, there was chocolate tipsy cake for breakfast. The girls might as well learn on early. Do you think she included so much of this chocolate cake because of the movie, how it was like really prevalent?
Right, that's what I'm thinking, because judging from like a lot of the other little Easter eggs that, you know, we've seen Alice kind of disperse throughout the books after the movie, it does seem like she gears the last 3 books in the series toward the movie a little more. Like she includes a lot more of those little Easter eggs. So
because she literally is like tipsy chocolate cake for breakfast. When that line was like, here we have chocolate cake for breakfast.
Right.
Yeah. The girls might as well learn early on. This was not a house like any other. No one would care how late they stayed up at night, or how many books they read on rainy afternoons, or if they jumped into Leech Lake from the highest cliff. And that was the last one. Yeah.
So now we're going to go back to jump forward to Magic Lessons, because that's the 3rd book in the series.
Back in time.
But this is going back in time. So this book, we actually learn the origins of the chocolate tipsy cake. It's not Aunt Isabelle's chocolate tipsy cake, as we find
No,
out.
no, no.
No. This cake, the origins actually come from Samuel Diaz, right?
Samuel Diaz.
We know as Maria's kind of love interest. Like,
Love a boy.
yeah, he is a lover boy. Like, she wants nothing to do with him. He's pining after her, but not to spoil anything for you guys, but I think you already know, if you're listening to this podcast, there's spoilers abound. So hopefully you've read all the books by now. If not, go read those. But we're about to spoil it for you right now. Okay, so turn this off if you don't want to be spoiled. But you know, Samuel Diaz and Maria, in the end, don't they end up together?
Yes,
Did
they do.
end up together? Yeah. So Samuel Diaz is of Portuguese descent. And this chocolate tipsy cake comes from his side, his family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on page 219, it says, "Do you think this will win me over?" she asked Samuel Diaz when she was done, she being Maria. The food had been delicious and he had spent hours making it. He also baked a chocolate cake using his mother's recipe, a sweet so drenched in rum, a single slice could make a person tipsy. For some reason, Maria felt alive again, and guilty that her heart still managed to beat, though it was broken in two. "I don't have to win you over," Diaz shrugged. "I already won." Maria couldn't help but laugh at his arrogance. That was before. Now there's a curse. So that's the origin of the tipsy cake. It comes from his mother, Samuel Diaz.
Mama Samuel.
Yeah, Mama Diaz.
Mama Diaz.
Mama D.
Mama D. Shout out to Mama D.
Yeah. Page 222. Maria had a deep affection for the old man who had taught her how to make chocolate tipsy cake. So Abraham, this is talking about Abraham, Samuel's father, right?
Yes.
So he taught Maria how to make the chocolate tipsy cake, not Samuel, which I thought
Right.
interesting.
Right,
So
right.
it says, and she hated to leave him on his own when she left the house, for he was prone to wander, often finding his way to the rough area of the docks. So now this is page 232 to 233, and this goes into a little more behind, I guess, the Portuguese Jewish ancestry, because Samuel Diaz was both Portuguese and he was of Jewish descent. So this says Portuguese Jews from Brazil had come in 1654 when Portugal reclaimed Brazil from the Dutch, bringing the Inquisition with them. These original Portugals were greeted by Governor Peter Stuyvesant, who had been unwilling to accept the group of 23 souls with no country and no home until he was pressured to do so by the original owner of the house on Maiden Lane, Jacob Barsaman, who had worked for the Dutch West India Company. The new immigrants were not allowed to build a synagogue, but the men met daily, and Abraham Diaz had gone to these gatherings on Friday evenings in a small house near the harbor. In 1655, Jewish taxpayers had paid for nearly 10% of the price to build the wall, later the site of Wall Street, to separate the city from the wilderness beyond. Although they were outsiders, Jews were watchmakers, tailors, butchers, importers of rum and chocolate and cocoa. There you go. So Manhattan was a tolerant city, and if you didn't provoke your neighbors or call attention to yourself, you could do as you please and worship as you liked. So that's pretty much, I guess that's where the rum and chocolate and cocoa was kind of established in the Portuguese Jewish, I guess, culture.
And Wall Street. I like
And
how
Wall
she
Street.
melds the historical fiction.
Right.
Just like we learned with Long Island.
With the Coney Island.
Coney Island.
the
Yeah,
rabbit,
yeah.
The rabbit
Mhm.
episode. Yeah. She does a lot of that in this book, especially.
Mhm.
She's kind of setting the stage, kind of setting the origins for this whole saga, right?
Mhm.
So page 251, Abraham had no strength and no appetite for life. He knew this weakness, for he had seen it in others. It came at the end of life. It appeared that a person was giving up, but it was an acceptance of the end. He stopped eating, even refusing a bite of his favorite chocolate cake. And what was even more telling for a man of the Diaz family, he stopped talking. I have to laugh because Diaz is my cousin's last name.
Oh.
I told you, my godfather, right?
Oh, yeah. He's the Diaz.
He's the Diaz, and he does not shut the fuck up. So
That's so funny.
That's hysterical.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But he's Cuban. He's not Portuguese. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's Diaz, not Diaz.
Not DIAS.
But I did have a friend growing up, Dias, and she's Portuguese.
And she couldn't stop talking?
Yeah, she also talks a lot. So maybe it's the name. I don't know.
Cute.
Portuguese or Cuban or otherwise. I don't know.
Mhm.
But anyway, so page 392, this is the last mention in Magic Lessons. And this says, there were times when Maria and Faith would glance at one another as they set the table for dinner, or worked together choosing ingredients for a cure, or baked the traditional chocolate tipsy cake for birthday celebrations.
And every other celebration, or every other day for breakfast.
Yeah. And in Book of Magic being the last book that we're about to dive into now, we see a little bit of that chocolate tipsy cake being baked more so for celebrations. Because as we
Okay.
know, in this book, this is the book where they break the curse, right? So there's a lot to celebrate at the end of
Do
this
they
book.
do it? Okay. I totally forget this book, to be honest.
Christina's like, I pushed this one out of my mind. It's one of my favorite ones.
Gal.
I think
Yeah, the only times there is like sporadically, not even in any order when we do these episodes, like talking about the tattoos and that. I was like, Jesus, I forgot. I just forgot.
I think it's a lot of ours least favorite book.
Sorry, Alice.
Yeah.
But we want to include it because I'm sure there are people who do like it
And we
for
should.
its amount of magic.
Right, and we should include it just because like there's stuff that happens in this story that like we want to talk about with you guys. So
Totally.
you guys should know that this story just for its context alone, just so you can kind of like keep up to date with like the happenings and what went on and what's going on with the curse. If Alice was ever to do another book, I'm like curious because she kind of wrapped it up in a nice little bow at the end of this book. She kind of like put the curse to bed. Maybe it could come back, but if she ever did another book, I'm wondering if she would like go back in time again and focus on another character that maybe we want more.
Yeah, she'd have to have another plot device to
Right.
drive it. It couldn't be about the curse because we know eventually it does end.
Right.
You know, it
Yeah.
would be interesting.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking like it would be cool to see more on Vincent and his life in when he escaped to Paris
Mm-hmm.
or the UK, wherever he ended up. I
I
forget.
want to know about their mom
I want
and,
to
you
know.
know, her time in Paris.
Yeah, I want to know about their mom. I want to know about fucking Aunt Isabelle.
Isabelle. Yeah, totally.
Because she made it very clear in Rules of Magic where I think she said to Franny, she was like, "What, do you think I didn't have a life before Magnolia?"
Oh, she slam banged around before.
And
Oh,
I was
I really
like,
want to know her story.
I'm thinking if Alice threw that little line in there, do you think she's got something up her sleeve? Like, are we ever going to see that life prior to Magnolia Street for Aunt Isabelle?
And her post like a couple months ago saying the
right.
end of the story. Or is it?
Or is it? Way to tease us.
Alice,
What are you
don't
doing?
do that.
All right,
All
so
right.
last book, Book of Magic.
Page 12, it says Sally's long dark hair. Well, I don't know what this is talking about. Sally's long dark hair, and told her that in the morning they would have, what is this? It's like part of a Sally's long dark hair, and told her that in the morning they would have chocolate cake for breakfast, as they always did.
You know, I did this half asleep when
I know. I'm so appreciative that you did it at all.
Like 2 a.m. Okay, so it says, this is page 12. It says, she didn't offer silly, meaningless words of comfort, but instead stroked Sally's long dark hair and told her that in the morning they would have chocolate cake for breakfast, and they always did. And this was in reference to Franny. Franny was stroking the long dark hair.
Oh, she is very sensitive when
Yeah.
it comes time, I guess.
Yeah.
Page 32. Then they went out grocery shopping for the ingredients they needed. In the morning, when Sally came into the kitchen, ready to head to the library, her aunts were baking a chocolate tipsy cake, a family tradition for birthdays, weddings, and funerals ever since Maria Owen's time. Do you know how many calories are in that? Sally said. Okay, that line, do you remember in Practical Magic, Jillian says something like that?
Does she?
And Sally is like, she's 13. She shouldn't have to worry about that.
Wait, when did she say that?
The morning of Kylie's birthday, when they're giving her gifts. Kylie goes to get some pancakes probably, and Jillian is like, do you know how many calories are in that?
Oh, right. Okay.
All the same, she sat down at the table and ate the leftover batter with a spoon. What are we celebrating? She asked. Sally looked exhausted with dark bluish circles under her eyes. She worked too much and she hadn't conditioned her hair for ages, and she was still beautiful and, in the aunt's eyes, still their little girl. If you can't eat chocolate cake for breakfast, what's the point of being alive? Franny said. On the morning of the 7th day, when this ashy circle around Jet closed so that she was surrounded by a black aura and time was running out, they did exactly that. For reasons Sally could never explain to herself nor understand, she joined her aunts at the breakfast table, and instead of her usual yogurt and blueberries, she had the biggest slice. On page 41, the tomato seedlings were left in the garden, and they were all traipsed into the kitchen, where half a chocolate tipsy cake sat on a platter on the marble counter. Why wait for dinner? Jillian grinned, getting some cake plates from the cabinet. We can have chocolate cake as an appetizer. I can't eat that, Antonia scolded. All that rum? Oh, because she's pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
It's just too much alcohol. Sorry, Jillian felt like a fool. Page 42. I can, Kylie said, looping one arm around Jillian's waist. I'll have her slice too. And on the same page, Kylie ate her cake with her fingers, as she had when she was 5 years old, in heaven from the very first bite. She still considered chocolate Tipsy cake to be the best dessert in the world. She wished that Gideon were here with her. He would have probably finished the rest of the cake with ease. Page 55. Jet had made a point to stop by to visit him every day. She brought him oat biscuits on a regular basis and occasionally a slice of her chocolate Tipsy cake. I always want to reverse it to Tipsy chocolate cake. It's just because like the alliteration, chocolate cake, is so much easier than separating it, so I apologize. Chocolate Tipsy cake that he wasn't allowed to eat. Far too sweet, the doctor said. But life was too short and getting shorter, and sometimes a person needed to simply enjoy himself. Jet covered the cake with a handkerchief when she smuggled it in and brought along a fork and a napkin. She and the Reverend always laughed to think they'd pull one over on the nurses, who, of course, knew about the deviation in the old man's dietary regime all along, but who weren't about to argue with Jet Owens, for as lovely as she was, the family had a reputation, and considering that the Reverend was over 100, it was best to let him do as he pleased.
Didn't you say in one of our episodes, you're like, I think there's a darker side to Jet that we don't know about? Like,
what if she's killing him with the cake?
No, I wasn't going that far. I was just gonna say, like, if you piss her off and tell her not to do something, I wonder what her wrath looks like.
Oh, yeah. You don't think she's trying to put him in a diabetic coma?
Or maybe, yeah.
She's finally getting her revenge.
She's got every reason to.
Yeah.
Right? She's got every reason to say, fuck this guy. But as far as we know, on a surface level anyway, she's taken the higher moral ground.
Right. She's a sweet woman.
But I'm just thinking, like, you know how kill him with kindness? I think she takes that to the extreme. Like, kill him with sweetness. Maybe if I'm overly sweet, you know, maybe I can get what I want.
I see.
You know? But I think there is a darker side to her, like you said. And maybe if you piss her off in just the right way, you really see the real Jet come out. I don't know.
I don't know if she likes to hear no. Like all the other Owenses, she just handles it in a different, maybe sneakier way. Which I'm about. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Page 60. Jillian was in the kitchen putting the finishing touches on the chocolate Tipsy cake. Ben was helping her, measuring out the rum to mix into the last of the frosting that would be piped into a decorative border. He was concentrating hard and his face was smeared with chocolate, and he was still just as handsome as he had been when Jillian first met him, which for some reason made her feel like crying. Aw, page 98. Some had been crying, some carrying babies, some brought gifts, baskets of fruit, caged birds, boxes of fancy chocolate, all made certain to latch the garden gate when they left. And I think that's after her funeral. Page 146 to 147. Reverend Willard lowered his voice. You don't know half of it. Bring me something chocolate next time and I'll tell you about it. You can't have chocolate. She would stop by the nurse's desk and recommend an EKG to the nurse, who was open to suggestions, just to be safe. Courage was fine and good, but when it came to medication, caution was often more useful. I can have it if you bring it, the Reverend said. Who's to know? Antonia had begun to find the old man a source of amusement. And something more. She took his hand in parting. He still had a strong grip. Maybe, as long as you don't turn me into the nurses. Don't forget the cake, he called after her as she left. He was certainly stubborn, and Antonia admired that. Do you think hanging out with him made Jet more stubborn over the years?
Possibly. But you know what I'm thinking now? I'm thinking, what if the reason why Jet and this Reverend get along now is kind of because she's been like sweetening him up with this chocolate cake? Like there's some kind of spell that's making him like kind of a cool guy now, because he was such a hard before. He was such a dick, right?
Kind of a cool guy.
Kind of a cool guy now, but like he was such a jerk to her like for all those years, and now all of a sudden, like now that she's bringing him this cake, now he's cool. I don't know.
I think also that even though Jet and Franny love each other, Franny is such a tough nut that maybe Jet likes a challenge of softening that tough exterior in people, and maybe he reminds her of Franny.
Maybe,
you know?
And she just with the cake.
Yeah, with the cake. It says he was certainly stubborn, and Antonia admired that. He wanted what he wanted at this point in life, and that much was clear. The one your aunt makes, Antonia heard as she let the door close behind her, suddenly craving chocolate herself. Oh my God, there's so much in this book.
Yeah, that's what dude, I'm telling you, Alice really ramped it up with the chocolate cake in this last.
Oh my God, please. Yes, thank you.
All right, page 189. On her next visit to the Reverend, Antonia decided to surprise him with a chocolate Tipsy cake. She would show him that, indeed, she can make something with care. Although she never baked before, she knew the recipe for the cake by heart. So last night she'd given it a try in her small kitchen, traipsing out to the nearby market to purchase dark chocolate, a sack of sugar, some fine cake flour. Antonia did her reading for her neurology class while the layers baked in battered tins, hoping for the best but not truly expecting it, glancing at the oven every once in a while just to make certain there was no smoke. She made the frosting out of butter and powdered sugar, cocoa, and vanilla. She knew that Jet waited for the cake to cool before frosting and waved at the tins with a dish towel to help the process along. In the end, the layers were tilted and the frosting was too thick. She left out the rum, with only a splash for tradition's sake, but it was perfectly serviceable cake, and she was rather proud of it herself. She'd set the finished product on a plate jammed into the backseat of Jillian's car, where it nearly fell onto the floor mat as she rounded the corner too quickly. At the retirement home, the admitting clerk, about to complain about the cake, was stared down by Antonia's cool glance, and no one stopped her when she made a detour into the lunchroom for a knife and 2 plates and forks. The Reverend was at his favorite spot by the window when Antonia arrived in his room. Page 190. It became even better when the Owens girl came in with the cake and closed the door behind her. "I had the feeling you'd be back today," Reverend Willard said. "Did you?" Antonia set the cake on top of his dresser and cut 2 slices. "It's my first chocolate Tipsy cake, so don't judge me too harshly." "Who am I to judge?" The Reverend tried his best to keep an open mind.
Oh, all right.
Now
Little late.
Now he's got an open mind. Especially when it came to the Owens women. Antonia handed him a slice of cake, then perched on the edge of the bed with her own plate and hesitantly took a bite. It might not look perfect, but it was utterly delicious. "Yum," they said in unison.
Cute.
Yeah. Also, page 190. "How do you know you're in love?" she found herself saying now as they ate their cake. Antonia felt comfortable confiding in the Reverend. She had the distinct impression that her secrets were safe with him. Love does as it pleases. It can't be controlled. The Reverend took another bite of cake. "Almost as good as your Aunt Jet's." You know, that line is interesting to me, like knowing like what a close-minded asshat he was like previously before Jet got to him with this chocolate cake. Again, I think Jet kind of like put some kind of spell on this Reverend with this chocolate cake. He's fiending for this cake, and as a result,
Fiending for the cake.
and as a result of him consuming this chocolate cake that Aunt Jet keeps making for him, it seems like the more he consumes this cake, the more open-minded he becomes about matters about love.
I like that.
You know?
It helps you let go a little bit.
Yeah.
Just relax.
It must be the
It's
rum.
the rum.
It's the rum. He's
Yeah.
putting the lime in the coconut all day.
Oh, yeah.
So, page 192. He was in there. Antonia was sure of it. Today she came to the hospital directly from the retirement home up in Essex, still smelling of chocolate. Page 265. "You're saying I'm vulnerable and sensitive?" Antonia had laughed, but she had become uncomfortable with the conversation. "That will never be me. Should we share dessert?" Ever since she made the chocolate Tipsy cake, she'd acquired a sweet tooth. 357. The Reverend had agreed to perform the service if it took under 5 minutes, and chocolate Tipsy cake was served afterward. A bargain. Dude, I'm telling you, he's under some kind of spell with this fucking cake. A bargain that was quickly agreed to. The cake for Sally's wedding took 3 full days to bake and was the size needed to feed 50 people. It was the largest of its kind ever made, with so much rum involved that half the town was drunk merely because they breathed the air. Bees found their way into the kitchen, their wings dusted with powdered sugar, but they didn't linger on the day of this joyous occasion, and strays were chased away with dish towels, for no one wished to be stung on a day of celebration. And also, as we remember, the bees are a sign of impending doom, right? So it makes sense that they would want the bees hanging around on a joyous occasion.
Totally.
357. Rain on a wedding day is said to be good luck, but it's also quite messy when the festivities are to be held outside. No one wanted that gorgeous Tipsy cake to dissolve into a pool of melting chocolate. Page 363. Oh, March 21st. People who were born on this day had a unique brand of courage, and what more could a woman wish for her daughter? Ben Fry had handed out chocolate cigars to anyone he could stop in the corridor. He and Jillian were both deliriously happy to step blindly into whatever was to happen next. And that was when she was pregnant. Wasn't she pregnant at this point at Sally's wedding? So they were celebrating also with chocolate cigars. Chocolate all around.
All over the place.
All over the place. Page 376. Time is relative. There's probably a loop of us sitting on the porch in our pajamas having chocolate cake for breakfast.
Cute.
That's the last mention of it in the actual book, but then at the end of Book of Magic, there is a reading group guide question section. So if you have a book club or anything of the sort, you can use these questions as kind of like a guide to direct your discussion. On page 387, question number 11 asks, one of the family traditions is making chocolate tipsy cake. At one point, Franny even says, if you can't eat chocolate cake for breakfast, what is the point of being alive? So it asks, what other traditions are mentioned throughout the novel? And then also share your own family or community's traditions with the group. So it's just kind of like a nice little nudge to encourage discussion about tradition.
Feel free to write to us and tell us if you have any traditions.
We would
And
love.
they don't have to involve chocolate.
Right. We would love to hear any traditions that you have. Do you have any family traditions as far as, I guess, any desserts are concerned?
We make Fashnuts, which are like those German donuts on Fat Tuesday, the day before Lent starts. And I learned how to make them last year and fuck me up. They're so good.
Yeah.
I just remember my grandmother baking them in her basement, old school Croatian style with powdered sugar, so dense. And then doing shrimp, like fried shrimp for Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Yeah. We do like the fish dinner Christmas Eve. I know it's traditionally you're supposed to do like 7 different types of fish, but like it's never 7. It's just like random types of fish. But as far as desserts are concerned, my grandmother for Easter, she makes, it's like a Sicilian egg bread. So basically she takes a hard-boiled egg and she wraps it in like a dough and she sprinkles it with just like rainbow sprinkles and bakes it. Like,
what?
Yeah. So it's just like this like egg. I don't know.
Is it good?
The cookie around it is good, but
You don't like the egg part?
No, because like it sits out on the table for a couple days. Like, it's not refrigerated.
That's
I know
so funny.
some people might eat it, but I don't usually eat the egg part. But the cookie part is really good. It's like good with like some tea at night or something like that.
So you could just make the cookie part and put like a Hershey's Kiss in it or something.
It's the Easter egg bread, so she's got to include those eggs.
The egg.
So
but you could put a Cadbury egg in it.
It might melt while you're baking it because it goes in the oven. So she bakes it like that. So, and then she also makes these like honey covered almonds. She like bakes those, so they have like a little bit of like a smoky kind of flavor.
That sounds good.
They were baked. Those are probably my favorite thing ever. I forget what they're called. She told me like recently what they're called, and I already forget what they're called, but they're my favorite. Whenever she rolls up to a party with a tray of those, I'm like, give me like 5.
You're like, it's time to a party.
So good. I love me some honey covered nuts.
The only other tradition that was like not family based was a friend of mine would do buffalo chicken dip for New Year's Eve every year. So I made sure I went to her house. And so now, I mean, I make it regardless of whether it's New Year's Eve, but that was like a New Year's Eve thing was you get buffalo chicken dip. Oh, so good.
Buffalo chicken dip. Yeah. So that's about it for the reading group questions as far as the chocolate cake is concerned and talking about traditions and stuff like that. Also, at the back of Book of Magic, there is a small little questionnaire, a conversation with Alice Hoffman herself. And the person asking the questions asks, do you ever have chocolate cake for breakfast? And Alice Hoffman says, whenever possible.
Oh, such an auntie thing to say.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Alice's actual recipe here and how she makes this cake. I'm wondering where she got this cake from. Like, did she make this up or did she get this from somewhere?
This looks like it's out of a book. And I'm sure if we dug a little bit or did like a reverse image search, we could find it.
Yeah.
But this is actually like in a printed book and she shared it on her Instagram a while back. Okay. So we want to share this one. This is the Tipsy chocolate cake. And this calls for only a 1/4 cup of rum, but I feel like that's adjustable to whatever you want it to be.
Do you think Alice has a little bit of a heavy hand when it comes to the rum? You think she's
oh yeah,
pouring that shit in? She does have a TikTok video, I think, in which she makes this tipsy cake.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
From this recipe, so I wonder if you can see the cookbook in the TikTok.
I'm going to look that while you're reading this. I'm going to look that up real quick.
All right, here you go. Get your pencils. We're going to link this if you don't catch it. But this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of almonds, 1 cup of sugar, 8 ounces of dark chocolate coarsely chopped, 2 sticks of butter, 5 large eggs, and a 1/4 cup of rum. And then there's a sauce that goes with it. And for the sauce, you're going to want 2.5 cups of raspberries. You could use fresh or frozen, and a half cup of sugar and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. All right, so you're going to preheat your oven, 400, butter your spring foam pan and lightly dust with flour. So the spring foam is where the sides, you can unlatch the sides and pull it off. Toast your almonds in a pan for 3 minutes. Melt the chocolate and butter in the top of a double broiler. Stir until smooth and then let cool. Coarsely grind your almonds together with the sugar. Separate the yolks from the egg whites. Place them in a large bowl and beat until light and fluffy. Add the sugar almond mixture and melt the chocolate with the butter and the rum and work with the mixer until the batter is smooth. In a separate bowl, beat the egg whites until soft peaks form. Then gently fold them into the rest of the batter. Pour the mixture into the prepared pan and bake for 10 minutes. Lower the temperature to 340 and bake for another 40 minutes. Let the cake cool completely before removing it from the pan. Then for this sauce, you place the raspberry, sugar, and lemon juice in a small non-stick pan. Cook over medium heat for 5 minutes, stirring until the sugar dissolved, and then pour the mixture into a blender and puree until smooth. Then dust the cake with some powdered sugar and decorate with the fresh raspberries.
Yeah, dude. This looks divine. I'm looking at the one that she put on her TikTok. Wait, check it out.
Okay, wait.
I love how she even uses the music. She put the music, If You Ever Did Believe, to this whole video, but I won't play it on here for copyright reasons. But we will link this TikTok video in our show notes just so you could see Alice make this cake herself.
Wow, look at it go.
Look at
So
those
you're
raspberries.
using white rum. It looks like she's
Yeah.
using white rum, not spiced rum.
Use Bacardi Superior, but I guess you could use spiced if you wanted to.
I guess.
So it's
Pretty
just
kitchen.
gonna loop again. And her dog Shelby is in there.
Shelby. So my question is, why did it take them 3 days to make Sally's wedding cake?
I
If
don't
this
know.
shit
Well,
takes like an hour and a half. It
Is
has to feed 50, I guess.
they needed to make enough to feed 50? I don't know, because I'm guessing if this thing feeds 50, do you think it fit in the oven that they
In
had?
the oven? Unless they did it on like a flat sheet and put all the flat sheets together.
Yeah, so maybe
Or
they
stacked it.
had to like bake multiple sheets in batches because not all of it would fit in the oven at once. And then
50
after
people is not a lot, though.
No,
And
it's
not everybody has dessert.
right.
It's just, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Well, maybe not everybody has dessert, but the Reverend was eating enough of that cake for 50 people, so
Right.
they needed to make
Right.
sure they had enough for him because that was the agreement. He wouldn't do the service.
Agreement.
He wouldn't do the service unless he had his fucking chocolate cake. So,
Wow.
so yeah.
We'll link that. I want to make it, if not for myself, or as a gift, because that's a lot of chocolate.
We should have like a little baking party on our Patreon. Me and you should try baking it together.
Oh, sure. Okay.
That'll be fun. So,
All right.
lastly, before we take a break, here are some rules to live by according to the aunts. And this is via the Enchanted Living magazine issue back when it was still Faerie Magazine. What was this issue, like 40 or 41 or
I
something?
think so.
This whole issue was a practical magic issue. Everything was based on practical magic.
Number 1, eat chocolate cake for breakfast. Dance naked under the full moon. Clothes entirely optional. Cats belong in your home, on tops of your tables, and wherever they so please.
Just don't
Punky
fuck
got
with
the salami rose.
Salami roses. Just don't fuck with my salami roses, Punky. What a jerk.
Always be kind to neighbors, even when they cross the street to avoid you. Wear giant hats, the more dramatic the better. Take caution peering into covered mirrors in the shed. You might see your future. Love, nurture, and know your own garden, the dangerous plants and the gentle. Remember that there is a little witch in everyone. A parasol is both a practical and fashionable accessory. You can't practice witchcraft while you look down your nose at it. Leave your back porch light on at night for those who may need you. If a broom falls, company's coming. You can always tell a witch by her red shoes, which I can't wait to get in Salem.
I got some.
On hot August days when you want to murder whoever crosses you, drink lemonade instead.
What?
Where-
Where did that one come from? I don't remember that one at all. Do you remember that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think it might be in the first one because there's like a lot of lemony references. I don't know.
You want to murder someone, drink lemonade instead. Oh my god, I'm dead.
Wear the fancy dress today. Use the formal china. Life is a celebration.
Drink that wine. How many of us have a wine cage filled with wine that we're saving for special occasions?
Not
you
me.
don't? Oh,
No.
I have I have a cage full of wine that I'm like, oh, we can't drink that. We got that on this. Oh, we can't drink that. That's saved for this special. No,
Wow, you have some self-control.
drink the wine.
Aaron and I, first time at Sam's Club in fucking years, and Aaron's like, he got 3 bottles of the same wine because he was like, this is such a steal. I'm down to 1 bottle. We went on Saturday. Today is Tuesday.
Wow, y'all drink a lot. See, like we only really drink when people are over. And when people are over, they usually drink the hard shit. They don't even go for the wine. So that's why we have so much wine. We're like, oh, we'll drink it when we have company. But then like the company's here and they don't even drink the wine. So we just have wine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Bathe with lavender oil and cool fresh water. Being normal is not necessarily a virtue. It rather denotes lack of courage. When life gets you down, conjure midnight margaritas. And lastly, throw spilt salt over your left shoulder, keep rosemary by your garden gate, plant roses and lavender for luck, and fall in love whenever you can.
Can I just say real quick before we take this break? I just like love how the aunts incorporate like alcohol into every aspect of their lives.
Yeah, how about that?
It's like we need cake with all the rum and we need some margaritas.
Yeah, totally.
We need to just be drunk all the time because this curse is just sucking the life force out of us.
Dude, even at breakfast, maybe it wasn't breakfast, but at the beginning of the movie where they're all sitting around that table, it looks like maybe breakfast time because there's whatever, but they're drinking like port. It's early.
Yeah, very early. Yeah, that sun in that scene looks very high in the sky, like very early in the day for sure. And yeah, Franny's
too early for port, if anything. Mimosas I could see, but not Jesus.
Well, Franny is just milking it.
But if they're eating chocolate, port is the dessert wine, so it's a perfect pairing.
Very rich, very
rich.
Divine.
Back.
It's divine.
Syrupy. Divine.
Divine, I say. All right. We ready to take a break?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll do a card pull from the Inner Witch Oracle by Grounded by the Moon, and then later on we'll talk about all the wonderful benefits of eating chocolate, dark chocolate, the magical correspondences, some history and lore, and the role of witch's cake dating all the way back to 1600 Salem. So stick around for all that when we return. Hey little witches! The Stinas here. If you've been listening to our podcast for a while, you would know how much we love using the Practical Magic Inner Witch Oracle deck by Grounded by the Moon.
And now we want to share the magic of Grounded by the Moon with you, our listeners. Joseph Benitez Egerton, the creator behind Grounded by the Moon, would like to offer this very special 10% off discount to all who wish to experience the magic of his Practical Magic themed tarot and oracle decks.
But that's not all. He also creates other divination tools like tarot workbooks, deck bags and altar cloths, pendulum kits, oil blends, cleansing sprays, smoke wands, teas, and ritual kits.
And let's not forget about his custom handcrafted, all-natural soy candles, where every candle is hand-poured and personally infused and charged under the light of the moon. They even come with a crystal.
And did we mention all of the ingredients in the candles are ethically sourced?
All of Joseph's offerings are just so magical. So go visit groundedbythemoon.com and use the coupon code Magnolia Magic for 10% off your entire order at checkout.
That's MAGNOLIA MAGIC. So get your discount today. You're listening to Magnolia Street Podcast. Oh, wow. Dude, that first like whole section is so much more than I was anticipating.
It's big, but also I was like not reading very well today, so that made it feel longer, I'm sure.
No, I mean just like in general, like there was just so much in the books that and in the movie more than I thought there was. I guess because like we just did mugwort and there was like so little.
Yeah.
That I was just like not expecting all of that.
We like our extremes.
All right. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Oh, I gotta get my cards out. I don't think there's a chocolate cake card in this.
There has to be.
I don't think there is.
There really isn't a chocolate cake one.
I don't think so. All right. Tell me when to stop.
Stop. The Witch's Hanging Rope.
The keywords on this card are protection, but also inner strength. It says the witch's rope entangles you with strength and protection. Know that you are safe. If you are offered a piece of this rope, accept this gift, for there is no need to worry. You are protected from any evils that may disrupt your path. Do some protection work for yourself and those close to you. This rope is connected to and honors the witches of Salem and their magic and provides the newer generations of witches protection, peace, and inner strength. With a piece of rope, tie a knot for each element while speaking the affirmation. Carry it with you, leave on your altar, or make a bracelet to embrace these powers. Dispose of by burning and repeating the affirmations one last time. And the affirmation is, I am safe, I am protected, and I am strong. So yeah, so I think it's interesting that like we got the witch's hanging rope, and the witch's hanging rope is what we saw the aunts tie around Kylie and Antonia in the movie to protect them when, you know, when they left. They kind of fled the scene when the shit was about to hit the fan.
That makes me think of like, you know, what's the most evil thing according to society? The devil. And what can you make devil's food cake?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
I like that connection.
Oh, Jesus.
So there's no chocolate card in this deck, but
Interesting.
But the witch's hanging rope is an interesting one because, you know, it is synonymous kind of with the aunts and them wanting to protect their nieces.
Grandnieces.
Grandnieces, right. So the chocolate cake and the witch's hanging rope and the rum and the midnight margaritas and the witch's hanging rope kind of stem from that scene.
I had a chocolate cake in my oracle deck that I was working on, but I don't remember. I know it was like indulgence, something about self-care, like what we're talking about, but I never finished that project.
Well, we're going to do a Magnolia Street podcast themed oracle deck.
Cool.
I love Joseph's deck. It's beautiful, but it's more geared toward the movie and the books. I think if we were to do a deck, it would just be unhinged. It would be like coffin cutter and arbiter of taste.
Yeah, oh my god.
And references from our show. So
yeah,
I think
that would be so cute.
I think that would be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get planning.
Let's do it. If you guys want to see that, let us know. Slide into our DMs. Tell us your thoughts.
Slip in on that slide of chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Chocolate sauce. All right, what do you got? What's coming up?
Okay, so before we get into all the history and the lore surrounding this sweet treat, let's check out some of the magical correspondences. I actually looked in my Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. I was looking for like cocoa, cacao. It wasn't there. So I thought it for sure would be in there. So I did a little digging and I found these magical correspondences of chocolate via plentifulearth.com. And this article is called The Magical Properties of Chocolate by Jennifer Aurora Moon McDonald. So Jennifer says, we've all heard the phrase, a little chocolate a day keeps the doctor at bay. And while that may
I've
not...
never heard that in my life.
Neither have I. I've always heard like apple, but never chocolate. But I have heard that like dark chocolate is actually good for either your heart or your blood pressure, cholesterol. I don't remember.
Just like red wine.
Right, exactly. A little bit, but it's got to be the dark kind, as we'll discover later on in this article. Milk chocolate, not so good for you.
Oh, you know, though, I do like white chocolate.
You,
I really do. That's what I would pick over dark every time.
you are an anomaly because white chocolate is literally... White chocolate can go
It's
fuck
just
off.
chemicals. I love it. I love it.
Hate white chocolate. Like, you know, there's like whenever you get like a bunch of like those like little lint chocolates, little lint chocolates, little balls of chocolate, I always like throw the white ones out, or I like
Give them to me.
I'll mail you all of my white chocolate balls.
I'll take your burden. You know which ones? I lied before. If I have to pick chocolate, it's the like Christmas time Hershey's white chocolate with the chunks of candy cane in it.
Okay, like
or the cookies and cream Hershey's bar.
Okay, I can vibe with the cookies and cream. If it's like a regular white chocolate, I'm like, oh god, get it away.
I love it.
It's like a chocolate ghost. If like a chocolate died, it would just be like the ghost of chocolate.
Chocolate Phantom.
Chocolate Phantom.
That's an oracle card.
Yeah, the chocolate Phantom. So where are we at here? So Jennifer McDonald says a little chocolate a day keeps the doctor at bay. And while that may not be totally true, it can keep loneliness away, metaphysically and magically. Chocolate is perfect for love, romance, sex, friendship, and grounding. So take a nibble of chocolate to bring you back down to earth and help you actually love here. Use chocolate in love magic, spells, and potions to help with self-love, finding love, feeling happy, content, and so much more. Whether you're a chocoholic, kitchen witch, or sympathetic Christian, chocolate has a special vibration just for you. As with other magical correspondence lists, this Materia Magica lets you know what energies chocolate will add to a prayer or spell and when to use it.
It's interesting that they say the sympathetic Christian
To
realize half of their holidays, global holidays, involve chocolate. Easter, Halloween, and Christmas.
secular holidays contain a lot of chocolate.
A lot of chocolate.
But yeah, also if you think of like an advent calendar,
Yep.
there's always chocolate in an advent calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which is like ironic to me because chocolate and that temptation, isn't that synonymous with like the devil?
We're going to talk a little bit about that later.
Yeah.
The devil. Even Thanksgiving, because they're like the chocolate turkey is a thing too.
Is it?
Like giving and getting chocolate turkeys. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have the Easter egg, like chocolate eggs, chocolate bunnies, all that stuff, which I think is, again, ironic that it's so involved in like the Christian kind of holidays as like a treat or a reward, because we know Lent, what do people mostly give up for Lent?
Sweets and
Chocolate.
chocolate. Mm-hmm.
Chocolate. Yeah. So I think it's just interesting how like they're using chocolate as a reward for abstaining from it for however long for that holiday or that, I don't know, what do you call it?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
We're not Catholic. They kicked us out.
They kicked us out. You know what I'm getting at. Anyway, some of the magical properties of chocolate. So the Latin name is Theobroma cacao. Interesting. Theobroma Theobroma cacao. The gender is feminine, and depending on what kind of chocolate you're fucking with, the elements are different, the planets are different, the signs are different, chakras, even the chakras are different. Okay, so let's get into the elements first. So for white chocolate, it's ruled by water. Milk chocolate is ruled by water and earth. Dark chocolate is ruled by earth and fire. And cacao nibs are ruled by fire.
There's no air.
There's no air.
Weird.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so planets. White chocolate is ruled by Venus. Milk chocolate is ruled by Venus and Earth. Dark chocolate is ruled by Earth and Moon. And cacao nibs are ruled by Earth, Sun, and do you say Uranus or do you say Uranus?
I say Uranus.
You say Uranus? I'm that asshole. I'm like, Uranus.
Be you. You just be you.
All right, I'm so immature. Signs. White chocolate ruled by Pisces and Aquarius.
Okay. Moon in Aquarius.
Yeah.
For me, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, right. You are a moon in Aquarius. Milk chocolate is ruled by Cancer and Libra. I'm a Cancer moon. Is that why I love my milk chocolate?
Maybe.
No, because think about it. When you're going through your cycle, you're all up in your emotions. Cancer moon.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Cancer moon. That's why I'm like, I need my milk chocolate. My milk chocolate. Dark chocolate is ruled by Scorpio, Virgo, and Aries, and cacao nibs are ruled by Scorpio and Virgo. Now we're going to talk about chakras. So white chocolate is ruled by the heart, milk chocolate, the heart, dark chocolate, the heart and the sacral chakras, and the cacao nibs are sacral and root chakras. Lots of heart, sacral, and root. I guess
fire.
Yeah, fire and earth. That makes perfect sense. Magical properties. So for white chocolate, that is friendship, self-love, and fun. Milk chocolate is used for friendship, self-love, nurturing, love, balance, fun, and raises emotional energy. Isn't that what I said?
Hey, yes.
No, that's why, going through
nurturing.
Yeah, PMS, all about the
you
milk
need
chocolate.
It. Very good.
Dark chocolate. It's good for love, romance, grounding, and prosperity. And cacao nibs are for grounding, prosperity, and ancestry work.
I've never had a cacao nib. What is that?
Aren't those like those little I don't know if it's like the whole thing is cacao or if it's like I've had like chocolate cacao covered almonds, which are really good, but I don't know if I've ever had a cacao nib. It's saying
I feel like they're very like potent.
Really?
Oh, they're very small. It's like a crumble.
Okay.
Maybe we have had it before. They probably crumble it on those martinis we were talking about.
Ooh, those espresso martinis. Yeah. Interesting that it's saying that the cacao nib is used for ancestors or ancestry work.
Yeah, well, the reverence for cacao is so ancient.
Right.
I'm sure it's connected to, what's the word? Psychopomp. It could be a psychopomp.
What is this?
Where it's like it helps you go between worlds, like the rabbits.
Right. Yeah. And also, I'm thinking, do you ever see the movie Coco, the Pixar movie?
Yeah.
About the Mexican Dia de los Muertos?
Yes.
In that tradition, they have ofrendas, which are like these altar spaces where they leave actual food offerings to their ancestors that help them kind of make the transition kind of back to Earth for that thinning of the veil, that time period.
Cool. Yeah.
On the Day of the Dead. I think it's November 1st.
Okay.
It's like right after Halloween or Samhain if you want to go pagan with it. I guess that's why they're lumped together of like around Halloween, Samhain. You see a lot of Day of the Dead decor because they are
Right.
together. But they have those altars where they leave their food offerings where it enables their ancestors to come visit them for that night.
Nice. And
Yeah.
then like a sweet treat. I think that's like pretty common for like if you want to leave your ancestors something. Like
Yeah.
chocolate is just so inviting. Of course
I
they're gonna want a little
also
snacky snack.
I also heard that they like their alcohol too.
Yeah. Okay. Rum cake.
The spirits love their spirits.
Come on.
There you go. So, you want to tell us a little bit about the medicinal properties?
Sure. For the medicinal purposes, the higher the cacao, the more beneficial it will be to your health. Unsweetened cocoa and cacao nibs are the best for increasing health, and they have antioxidants, hormonal and neurological happiness, increases your memory, longevity, lowers cholesterol levels, reduce risk. Maybe I should start eating more chocolate, get that cholesterol down. I just cut out eggs altogether, but I
Okay.
need to eat some chocolate.
Chocolate.
Reduces risk of stroke. I've had me a stroke before. And it strengthens your immune system. There is a little warning that the sweeter the chocolate, the worse it is for you. If you are a diabetic, be careful when eating processed chocolate, aka white chocolate.
Is that the worst for you? Is that the sweetest one?
I think it's the worst. It's all chemicals.
Okay, the semi-sweet chocolate, the one that they usually put in like chocolate chip cookies or like baking chocolate, they use the like semi-sweet chocolate. So sweet, so bad for
It
you.
is very sweet.
I'm not down with the semi-sweet. I do love me a chocolate chip cookie, but like those raw semi-sweet chunks or those chips, they make my like mouth pucker. Yeah, but I love me a Snickers bar. I love me a Milky Way.
Snickers are good.
Do love my milk chocolate. I can get so hard over a Twix bar. So I'm just putting that out there. But yeah, I agree, Kristina. You should eat more chocolate.
I'll try.
Yeah.
Aaron buys those like lint ball things, and they're the dark ones. He's just popping them like, oh my God, that's so much at once.
He
It's
eats
just
the dark
like,
ones?
yeah, he likes chocolate, but it just seems like a lot to me.
And you know, those lint ones are filled with like chocolate cream or like.
I know. It's
right? It's a lot of chocolate. I'm not so much of a dark chocolate fan, but Trader Joe's was under heat a while ago because apparently they were finding some like a trace of like aluminum or something in their chocolate that was no bueno. Me and Avi, every time we go to Trader Joe's, we get some of the chocolate bars because the dark chocolate, they have like a sea salted dark caramel like chocolate bar, so freaking good. But after I heard that, I was like, no more Trader Joe's chocolate for me.
When was that, do you think?
Recently, like within the last year.
I should have pulled up. I was really tempted because I've been including a news article in the last couple episodes, and I was like, there's probably like bullshit news articles attached if I type in chocolate. So I didn't even bother looking, but I should have.
If you gotta do your research, again, with anything that you consume, just do your research. But stay away from the sweeter chocolate. If you do want a healthier option, dark chocolate apparently is the way to go. And our next article is actually all about that. And this article is called Practical Magic, Dark Chocolate, the Sweet Healer. And this tagline it says, Holistic Helpers Straight from Mother Nature. And this is by Sarah Fruman. And this is from wanderlust.com.
Okay, so here's where dark chocolate is most commonly found. It says roughly 2/3 of the entire world's cocoa is produced in West Africa. The Ivory Coast of Africa accounts for 43% of the cocoa, where child labor is common. According to the World Cocoa Foundation, about 50 million chocolatiers purchase their chocolate from them, though many initiatives are underway to source fair trade chocolate and end deforestation. That was one big thing. There was another article I didn't include called like the dark side of chocolate, and it was really about the child labor that goes along with it. So, some sweet facts. In general, chocolate is the typically sweet, often brown food preparation of Theobroma cacao seeds, in which it is roasted, ground, and often flavored. It is made in the form of a liquid, paste, or block and used as a flavoring ingredient in countless sweet foods. Chocolate has been circulated since ancient times. The European Union regulation require dark chocolate to have at least 60% cocoa solids and milk chocolate 25%, while white chocolate has none.
Because it's chemical.
I know. Dark chocolate has countless sweet benefits. It's very nutritious, especially when having a high cocoa content. It's loaded with soluble fiber and minerals. A 100-gram bar of dark chocolate with 70 to 85% cocoa contains 11 grams of fiber, 67% of the RDA for iron, 58% of the RDA for magnesium, 89% of the RDA for copper, 98% of the RDA for manganese, plenty of potassium, phosphorus, zinc, and selenium. However, 100 grams of dark chocolate is a fairly large amount and should not be consumed daily.
Damn, that's a lot of chocolate.
Yeah.
I've probably consumed that at some point.
You're still alive.
I'm still here. I'm still kicking.
Yeah.
You want to, okay, so you want to hear a cute, funny story?
Sure.
My great grandmother, we used to call her Nana. She's my mom's namesake. Her name was Dorothy Decker. My mom was named
Cute.
after her. She would carry in her purse. This was her diet, okay? She would survive on those little Hershey's, like those Crackle Mr. Good bars, like, you know, the variety,
Ooh, yeah.
like mini variety packs. She
Yeah.
would carry those around in her purse, and like she would just like snack on those and Diet Pepsi. And that was her
Oh
diet.
my God.
And the woman lived to be like 100 years old. Like,
Wow.
if we can learn anything from her, chocolate in your diet ain't bad. All right?
Right.
Right, exactly. The
We have
diet,
less-
I'm not sure about though, but yeah. So that was her diet, and yeah, she lived to be very old. So
That's amazing.
that's all I gotta
No,
say.
like diabetes or anything?
No,
Good.
not that I know of.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and she would just hand it out to us grandkids, like, here you go, here's a Mr. Good bar. Don't spend it all in one place.
Oh.
So moving on. It contains mostly saturated and monosaturated fats with small amounts of polyunsaturated, as well as small amounts of stimulants like caffeine and theobromine. Dark chocolate is also a powerful source of antioxidants, one of the largest sources of antioxidants in general. It is loaded with organic compounds that are biologically active and function as antioxidants, including polyphenols, flavonols, catechisms, among others. One study showed that dark chocolate actually contained more antioxidant activity, polyphenols, and flavonols than any fruit tested, including
What?
blueberries and acai berries. Wow,
Mhm.
that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Dark chocolate may also improve blood flow and lower blood pressure since it stimulates the endothelium, the lining of the arteries, to produce nitric oxide, which sends signals to the arteries to relax, which lowers resistance to blood flow, lowering the blood pressure.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
why it's so popular around your moon cycle. The
Oh,
blood.
it stimulates the blood flow.
The blood.
There you go. Dark chocolate improves several important risk factors for disease, lowering the susceptibility of LDL to oxidative damage while increasing HDL and improving insulin sensitivity. In addition, observational studies show a drastic reduction in heart disease for those who consume dark chocolate. Drastic reduction? That's crazy,
Impressive.
right? All the more reason why you should up your dosage of
Okay.
dark chocolate, though. Dark chocolate.
Ah.
One of the sweetest benefits of dark chocolate is that it can actually improve brain activity. It has also been proven to prevent stress. Probably because when you eat chocolate, what's the word? Not endorphins. What's the other chemical that makes dopamine?
Dopamine.
It's like when you like bite into a piece of chocolate. I don't know about for you, but for me, like when I bite into a piece of chocolate, it's just like
Boom.
It's so like, oh yeah, that's the spot. It's like, yeah. So it definitely makes you a little happier because it's
Okay.
kicking in that dopamine. Dark chocolate is often also considered to be an aphrodisiac, but some believe that that's just because eating it makes people happy. Oh, serotonin. There it is.
Serotonin.
Increasing serotonin in general. What's the difference between serotonin and dopamine? What's dopamine?
I do not know.
Not the happy chemical?
I don't know.
We're not scientists, guys. Don't listen to us, but you know what we're getting at. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about history and lore. So, dark chocolate's history dates back at least 3,000 years, beginning as a bitter drink in the prehistoric tropics of South Africa. The dark chocolate was the original form of chocolate consumed. Approximately 1400 to 1100 BCE, the Mayans and the Aztecs used to drink dark chocolate for ceremonial and medicinal purpose, and it was also a luxury for the elite. The drink was bitter and was often cut with vanilla, chili pepper, cornmeal, alcohol, or other spices. The Aztecs believed the cacao seeds were the gift of the Quetzalcoatlus, the god of wisdom, and the seeds were so valuable they were used as currency. It was believed to have aphrodisiac powers and to give the drinker strength. When Columbus arrived, he was unimpressed by the drink, but Hernando Cortez introduced the beverage to the Spanish, who added cane sugar or honey to the formula. At first, it was only consumed by royalty. In 1689, milk was added to the mix by Hans Sloane in Jamaica, and in 1828, the Dutch chocolate maker Conrad van Houten invented a hydraulic press to make cocoa powder and an alkalizing process to mellow the taste. In 1847, Fry and Sons of England created the first solid-eating chocolate, and it quickly spread throughout Europe, making its way to Switzerland in 1864. That reminds me of with the
Moulin Rouge. Yes.
Henry Toulouse-Lautrec,
Yes.
played by what's his name?
Oh, what is his name?
What's
John
his-
Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo, and he plays the is he the penniless sitar player?
He's Toulouse. Yeah, but in the beginning they're doing the yes in the hills of Switzerland.
Switzerland, the hills are alive with the sound of music. Yeah. And isn't he like narcoleptic? Oh no, was that the other guy? That was the other guy.
Narcoleptic Argentinian. The hills are alive with the sound of music. I love it.
Okay, we're not obsessed
Stop.
at all.
Okay.
Moving on. In Switzerland, 1864. As for America, Milton Hershey, we know that name, began operations in 1894 during the Industrial Revolution.
I didn't even include anything about Milton Hershey in this because there was so much that I wanted to focus on just the origins and the importance. And, Milton Hershey did a lot of good things for the town and for the kids and for the workers and stuff like that. But I wanted to focus on more of the original
origins.
Yeah.
No, totally understandable. When did it become like big for Halloween as far as like commercialized, right? Because Halloween commercialized the candy and chocolate industry probably so much. Was that around 1894?
The first Hershey's milk chocolate bar was produced in 1900.
Okay.
There are articles about the history of Halloween candy. 1920s, 1930s, it kind of started becoming popular. And then 1950.
We don't have to go too far down the rabbit
Yeah.
hole. Just touching on like, when.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in the early 1800s, people baked the soul cakes we as
Right.
pagans are familiar with. They talk about candy corn. Hershey's milk chocolate was considered a luxury item. Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Okay. So let's talk about this chocolate cake spell.
This is from Llewellyn.com by Kayla Trobe. And it's just a little shorty entry, but they wrote it in November 12th, 2002. And they say, even under ordinary circumstances, chocolate cakes are pretty magical. Baked with love, this food nurtures and protects on many levels. However, to add extra energy to this celestial food, make sure one of its ingredients is cinnamon. Take a cinnamon stick and grind it down yourself, preferably in a mortar, sending the energy of love and protection into the powder. As you sprinkle it onto the mixture, say, Hathor, bless this cake with the powder to protect. May your divine milk nurture all who taste it, and the spice of thy magic bless my homestead. And I guess you could, depending on who you work with, you could do Demeter, you could do, any hearth, kitchen, whoever you're working with that you want to invite into your spell.
And if we want to go back to that article by Jenna Aurora Moon McDonald from theplentiful.earth.com, if you want to go back to those correspondences, depending on what kind of chocolate you're working with, whether it's like Venus, whatever the deities are who are associated with those planets,
Sure.
Work with those too. And I also wanted to say real quick, this Kayla Trobe, who was talking about blessing the cake with the power to protect, going back to the witch's hanging rope, protection.
Hey.
There it is. There's the connection.
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
We haven't had a good, it's all connected.
I know. So now we're going to talk about the role of the witch's cake in Salem. And this is an article by Joan Johnson Lewis from thoughtco.com. And I didn't know that there was, I know of the soul cakes, and I know there was something called a witch's cake, but did this have to do with chocolate?
We're gonna find out. In 17th century England and New England, it was believed that a quote witch's cake had the power to reveal whether witchcraft was afflicting a person with symptoms of illness. Such a cake or biscuit was made with rye flour and the urine of the afflicted person. Sympathetic magic.
That taglock. The cake was then fed to a dog. If the dog exhibited the same symptoms as the ill person, the presence of witchcraft was, quote, proven. Why a dog? A dog was believed to be a common familiar associated with the devil. The dog was then supposed to point to the witches who had afflicted the victim. I always thought it was more cats that were like associated with witches back then, but I guess any kind of animal could have been a familiar back then.
Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe. In Salem Village, in the Massachusetts colony in 1692, such a witch's cake was key in the first accusations of witchcraft that led to court trials and executions of many who were accused. The practice was apparently a well-known folk practice in English culture of the time. So what happened? In Salem Village, Massachusetts, in January of 1692, by the modern calendar, several girls began behaving erratically. One of these girls, Elizabeth Parris, known as Betty, was 9 years old at the time. She was the daughter of the Reverend Samuel Parris, the minister of the Salem Village Church. Another of the girls was Abigail Williams, who we've known in The Crucible, played by Winona Ryder.
Winona.
Right. Who was 12 years old and an orphan niece of the Reverend Parris, who lived with the Parris family. The girls complained of fever and convulsions. The father tried prayer to help them, using the model of Cotton Mather, who had written about curing similar symptoms in another case. He also had the congregation and some other local clergy pray for the girls to cure their affliction. When prayer did not cure the illness, Reverend Parris brought in another minister, John Hale, and the local physician, William Griggs, who observed the symptoms in the girls and could find no physical cause. They suggested that witchcraft was involved.
Did I tell you I have a friend named Cotton Mather?
Do you really?
His first name, which I won't say, but he goes by Cotton, and he has like a hyphenated middle name. Blank, Cotton Mather blank.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What?
Any relation to the witch trial?
I wonder. I don't know. He's a Leo. That's all I know.
Okay. Here's a Leo. All right. So whose idea was it, and who made the cake? So a neighbor of the Parris family, Mary Sibley, recommended the making of a witch's cake to reveal whether witchcraft was involved. She gave directions to John Indian, an enslaved man serving the Parris family, to make the cake. He collected urine from the girls and then had Tituba, a woman also enslaved by the household, actually bake the witch's cake and feed it to the dog that lived in the Parris household. Both Tituba and John Indian were brought to Massachusetts Bay Colony from Barbados and enslaved by Reverend Parris. Even though the attempted diagnosis revealed nothing, Reverend Parris denounced in church the use of this magic. He said it didn't matter if it had been done with good intentions, calling it, quote, going to the devil for help against the devil. And yeah. Mary Sibley, according to the church records, was suspended from communion. Her good standing was restored when she confessed before the congregation, and the people of the congregation raised their hands to show they were satisfied with her confession. Mary Sibley then disappears from the records about the trials, though Tituba and the girls figure prominently.
You're not gonna dance, you're gonna make your first communion.
You're gonna not make your communion because you ate the chocolate. You ate the cake. You ate the witch cake. The girls ended up naming those they accused of witchcraft. The first accused were Tituba and two local girls, Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne. Sarah Osborne later died in prison, and Sarah Good was executed in July. Tituba confessed to witchcraft, so she was exempted from execution, and she later turned an accuser. By the end of the trials early the following year, 4 accused witches had died in prison, 1 had been pressed to death, Giles Corey, and 19 were hanged. So that's what happened with that. The whole situation all around just fucking sucks.
Tragic, yeah.
Yeah, and none of them were actual witches.
I know.
It's all hysteria.
Now they own that town.
Now we own that town now. Now there's only one, which I told you yesterday when we were talking about our Salem trip. There's only one house still standing in Salem that is directly related to the witch trials, and it was resided in by, I think, Judge Jonathan Corwin. He was a judge on the Salem witch trials, so he was on the wrong side of history here. He was sentencing people, and I think he was taking testimonies and aiding in trying to get people to confess to witchcraft. And that house is the witch house, the gray house that everybody takes pictures in front of. The big gray house in Salem on Essex.
Do you think it was always that color?
I don't know. I don't know if they did any kind of like repainting, remodeling, refacing of some of the houses.
Right.
There are other historical houses in Salem still standing, but that is the only one I think that is still standing that is directly related to the witch trials.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really really cool.
And you know what's really cool about Salem? On every historical house, still, I guess, owned by the Historical Society, each house has a tag on it. And under the address, it says, say, for instance, the person who lived there, I guess the earliest settler who lived there, it tells you what their profession was.
Oh, cool.
So, like on the Gedney house, I think it says shipmaster.
Cool.
So it tells you like what each house is kind of like correlated.
Associated with.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
cool.
it's really cool to see like what the history of each house was.
I'm so excited.
You're gonna see all that when you go. So I'm
Okay.
so going back to the witch trials and the cakes, what really afflicted the girls? So scholars generally agree that the accusations were rooted in the community hysteria primed by a belief in the supernatural. Politics within the church likely played a part, with Reverend Paris at the center of a controversy regarding power and compensation. Politics in the colony likely also played a part. It was an unstable historical period. Some historians point to some long-standing squabbles among community members as some of the underlying problems that fueled the trials. All these factors are credited by many historians as playing a part in the unfolding of the accusations and trials. A few historians have also argued that grain that had been contaminated with a fungus called ergot may have caused some of the symptoms. So that could have contributed to the mass hysteria.
So that ergot is present in like a lot of rye beers. And
Mm.
I only know this because my husband doesn't overdrink. He ever. Like, you know, if we're out, like he knows when to stop, or if he is drunk, I can't tell.
Right.
He had gone out drinking with his brother-in-law when we still lived in California, and they had been drinking. I think he had rye beer, because what unfolded was not my husband. It was so weird.
What happened?
So they were finished, but he called me to come pick him up. He was like, I don't think I can drive. I feel really weird. Our brother-in-law was like, yeah, we only had like 2 or 3 beers, and they're both like dudes. They can drink
Right.
more than that.
Right.
So I go, and he is hanging. He can't even open his truck. He's like not air. And I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Was he
He's like,
roofied? What the
I think it was like with the rye poisoning, this ergot poisoning, and getting him home, he was like throwing up out the window and like crying out the window to people, like he was in pain. I had to like carry him into the house, and like I couldn't even get him to throw up.
Right.
And I was furious because I didn't know what was going on. I was furious with my brother-in-law that he just left him like that. So I called him. I was like irate. I was so mad. I sent him a picture of Aaron on the floor. I was like, you think he was okay? He couldn't even drive home. I can't believe you left him like this.
Right.
I was so upset. And then like the next week or so, we were like trying to figure out what the hell happened. It was so weird. I've never in my life seen him like that. He could barely walk.
How did you?
It was just so weird.
How did you like narrow it down that it was the ergot poisoning?
Because it usually shows up in like a rye brew, I guess, and that's what he was drinking.
Okay.
And I don't know if that establishment had problems before, but he said that they had problems before.
Oh,
Whether I don't know. So
like,
it
is
was just
nobody
so scary.
Is nobody regulating that brewery? Like,
I
why?
don't know.
Why is
I
that?
don't think it's open anymore, to be honest.
Okay, thank goodness. Oh my goodness, that's
But
hard.
I had heard the bad grain was an issue with
I've
this
never heard of ergot poisoning.
historical.
That's nuts. Sorry he had that experience. I'm gonna tell Avi. I'm gonna ask Avi about that because Avi's super into like beer, and he was brewing his own for a while, and like he's always like into like finding the next cool brewery to like try his beer.
Be careful.
So
Yeah, I'm always hesitant.
Yeah.
with
I've
that.
never heard of that before, but I'm gonna ask him if he's heard of that. I'm sure he's heard of that. But one other thing
Anyway,
one other thing I wanted to say about this whole like the politics going on in this town of Salem and why there was all this hysteria and blah blah blah. There's a really great podcast. I think it's called Unobscured. What's the guy's name? Aaron Mankey. He does lore. So check out that podcast if you guys want a little bit more of a well-rounded account of the Salem witch trials. I mean, this guy really deep dives.
yeah,
into
I started it. I tell
It's
you, I'm
great.
getting through it.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic. So much more information. Like you're going to see when you go, Kristina, a lot of the information in a lot of the museums in Salem is a lot of the same regurgitated, very surface level information. A lot of the same people's names are mentioned, blah, 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 hysteria, yeah, whatever. But if you listen to this podcast, you will see like all of the underlying like political bullshit.
All the land grabbing that was going on.
Land grabbing. Yeah. Go listen to Unobscured. It's on Spotify. I'm pretty sure it's on Apple Podcasts. Great podcast. Go listen to that.
And we've gotten questions before of like, hey, are you going to do the Salem witch trials? And like, guys, that would be fine. But there is no way that we could cover it in the depth that these people have already covered it in. So we like to delegate. And we like to point you in the right direction of quality information that you won't get with us. So go check out Unobscured.
Quality podcast. Like even the production value, like alone, like this storytelling is amazing. Excellent.
Yeah, really good.
So yeah, definitely check out Unobscured if you want more Salem witch trial stuff.
I just didn't know that there was cake connected to the Salem witch trials.
Witch cake.
A nice witch cake with urine.
Witch cake. It's like a urinal cake. Is it anything like a urinal cake? So gross. All right.
Okay.
Back on the chocolate bandwagon.
Back on the chocolate. Let's go back in time a little bit. This article is by Regina Gattuso, and it's called "The Chocolate Brewing Witches of Colonial Latin America." And the tag is "The Inquisition persecuted women who used cacao to entice lovers and spurn enemies."
Ooh.
Ooh.
Scandalous.
I know. So it starts off, it happened, perhaps one hot human night, mists over the mountains that bordered the colonial city of Santiago de Guatemala. Oh God, there's so much Spanish in this. Melchora de los Reyes, a young mixed-race woman, had sex with her lover. When she met him, she was a virgin, a doncella, a status that made her eligible for marriage in the strict Catholic society in 1600s Guatemala. But whether it was a look of love in his eyes, words sweet and thick as the mist, or promise that her lover would marry her, de los Reyes chose to have sex. All right. I did not read this through, as you can tell. Hopefully it has something to do with chocolate. He didn't marry her, and Melchora de los Reyes was left alone, unmarriageable, shamed, and possibly pregnant.
That sounds a lot like Maria to me.
It sure does. So she did what any other woman had done before. She consulted a hechicera, a sorcerer. There were many such sorceresses in colonial society, often indigenous women who peddled potent potions and magical incantations to women who found themselves powerless before an unfaithful lover, a violent husband, or the all-consuming ache of unrequited love. The sorcerer gave de los Reyes special powders and instructed her to mix them in her lost love's morning hot chocolate in order to make him, quote, subject to her will. De los Reyes fed the faithless man. Then she was reported to the colonial Inquisition.
Holy shit.
Okay, that was a flip switch.
Yeah.
De los Reyes is one of the many women whom the Spanish colonial government in Latin America tried to charge of witchcraft, and one of many specifically accused of practicing magic through bewitched hot chocolate.
Ooh.
Martha Few, a Penn State gender studies professor who has written several books about gender, religion, and medicine in colonial Latin America, first spotted the trend while poring over the Inquisition archives. Quote, "I just noticed in the Inquisition testimonies chocolate coming up quite a lot," she says.
Interesting.
Chocolate was an everyday drink as common then as a morning cup of coffee is today. But Martha noticed it often emerged in the records as a vehicle for women's magic spells and, in turn, for European anxieties about ruling a majority non-white population, filled with women who wouldn't do what they were told. Quote, "It became this flashpoint between social conflicts that were racial and gender conflicts," says Martha. At root, the Inquisition's crackdown on chocolate-related brujeria, or witchcraft, was a campaign to eliminate indigenous and African spiritual practices from colonial society. It was an attempt that failed. Despite persecution, Latin American communities continue to practice folk healing and magic to this day. Did I say that? Brujeria?
Brujeria?
Brujeria? Brujeria?
Brujeria. I love that word.
Based on chocolate's history as a ritual beverage in pre-colonial society, it makes sense that the drink became a receptacle for Spanish fears of sorcery. Indigenous people have cultivated chocolate in the Americas for at least 3,000 years, and archaeologists have identified chocolate residue on Mayan vessels. We have more on this later, by the way, for as early as 250 BC. Chocolate was a high-status drink shared by diplomats and served to couples in marriage ceremonies. That's why they had a chocolate cake at their wedding.
There you go.
When the Spanish colonized the Americas, chocolate's striking taste, caffeinated buzz, and indigenous ritual significance made it an object of European adulation and paranoia. People of all genders drank chocolate, but women prepared it. Traditionally, cooks dried, roasted, and ground cocoa beans, mixed the powder with water and spices such as vanilla and red-tinted annatto, and shaped and stored the thick paste in blocks. To prepare the beverage, they combined this paste with water and beat the drink until it foamed. Indigenous Mesoamerica associated chocolate with vitality, the warm crimson liquid representing the blood of life itself. Aztec Emperor Montezuma drank chocolate in one Spanish eyewitness account, quote, for success with the women. Mayan women writes, Martha consumed it to strengthen themselves during menopause and childbirth.
Have you ever heard of Montezuma's Revenge?
Yeah, what is that?
It's when you go to Mexico, they tell you not to drink the water.
Oh,
You'll
okay.
shit your brains out.
Why
So-
do they call it that after him, though? I wonder.
I guess because he's a well-known, Mexican deity.
Oh my God.
And if you drink the water, he seeks his revenge on all
Oh my God.
who are not from his land.
The brown rain, the chocolate rain.
Chocolate rain. That's so nasty.
Chocolate rain. Remember that guy?
No, what's
I don't even remember his name.
that, a song?
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
I was thinking Purple Rain. That's Prince.
That's Prince.
Yeah.
Oh, Tay Day. Tay, chocolate rain.
No, Brenna, can we put that on our MSR playlist?
Sure. Oh, okay. The association between chocolate and health carried over into the colonial era. After the defeat of the Aztec and Mayan, the Spanish prohibited the use of several ritual Aztec plants, such as psychotropic mushrooms, writes Manuel Aguilar Moreno in his History of Chocolate in Colonial Mexico. But the Spanish adopted the practice of chocolate drinking, and its ritual connotations lingered. In Mexico City, according to Aguilar Moreno, newly converted populations left offerings of cocoa in front of the image of Christ. In Santiago de Guatemala, current-day Antigua Guatemala, the site of Martha's study, people of native Spanish, African, and mixed ancestry regularly consume the beverage made by women who learned to prepare it from indigenous servants or neighbors. Quote, by the late 17th century, it's for sale in the market, says Martha. Quote, people are drinking it every day. Priests drank chocolate while meeting the faithful. Colonial hospitals stocked chocolate to fortify the sick, and husbands expected a morning cup from dutiful wives. Chocolate was one of the hallmarks of the new composite culture emerging in colonial Latin America, one that was heavily African and indigenous. But by the 1600s, says Martha, Santiago de Guatemala's mixed-race people had outstripped Europeans, who were only about 15% of the population. Fearing that they were outnumbered, European elites imposed a series of repressive laws against non-whites, including curfew and law prohibiting people of African descent from wearing jewelry and dressing like indigenous people. Oh my God. Women from all race groups and social classes were known to conduct indigenous or mixed-race healers, known to consult indigenous or mixed-race healers for magical spells and potions. Colonial authorities turned toward another tool, the Inquisition. The Spanish government, closely allied with the Catholic Church, had incorporated the Inquisition into their rule for centuries. Beginning in the 1200s, the Catholic Church had established a group of ecclesiastical tribunals or religious courts, collectively dubbed the Inquisition, to weed out the heretical practices. The Inquisition spread across Europe, and when the Spanish colonized the Americas, they took their tribunals with them. In the 1500s, colonial witch hunting was informal, brutal, and targeted indigenous elites. Quote, there was burning at the stake and extreme violence used against native people, says Martha. By the second half of the 17th century, the colonial Inquisition, as state agencies of death eventually do, had bureaucratized. With Mayan and Aztec elites long since defeated, officials turned their attention to policing the increasingly blurry racial lines of a mixed society. They decided that everyday indigenous people, as newer converts to Christianity, should be educated, not executed, so they formed a body specifically dedicated to eliminating pre-Christian practices from their midst. Another body kept tabs on Europeans, Africans, and mixed-race people who, as presumed earlier, converts to Christianity, were more severely punished for deviations from the church teachings. By monitoring a diverse population's religious practice was harder than the colonial government may have imagined. Spain's colonial holdings were made up of conquered peoples and conquests. Whether by sword or Bible is always incomplete. This was the case in Spain, where despite the Inquisition's attempt to stamp out traces of Islam and Judaism, all three Abrahamic cultures tint the peninsula to this day. And it was the case in colonial Latin America, where indigenous worldviews suffered the European colonizers' culture. Women bore the brunt of this policing, perhaps partially because they often interacted across racial divides. Spanish, indigenous, African, and mixed-race women mingled in the markets and kitchens. They shared recipes for homemade cures which blurred the boundaries between what we now call science and magic, and they often consulted indigenous healers. Whether in Europe or the Americas, witch hunts have long targeted women. Healing was traditionally women's work, and accusations of witchcraft were a means of regulating women whose knowledge and economic power had threatened male control. Like every time. In Latin America, this gender knowledge coupled with the fear of indigenous ritual power to make women particularly vulnerable to the Inquisition. Many of these cases centered around chocolate. As a daily drink with indigenous origins made and served by women, chocolate evoked male fears. Quote, men would complain that women were bewitching them through food. Like the Reverend.
The Reverend.
Yes.
Hey, what's up?
You called it.
Nailed it.
And they were always suspicious of what they were served, says Martha, noting, however, that even the fears of poisoning wasn't enough to make the men cook for themselves.
Of course it was.
Of course.
Fucking lazy bastards.
Yeah. What a later depiction of the 1596 torture and execution of women from the Carabajal family by the Inquisition in Mexico for covertly practicing Judaism. These dual fears of poisoning and domestic labor are precisely what motivated Juan de Fuentes, a 33-year-old mixed-race construction worker, to approach the Inquisition. As Martha writes, de Fuentes alleged that his wife Cecilia had bewitched his masculinity away. Not only was de Fuentes seemingly unable to maintain an erection, but he also found himself strangely compelled to make the morning hot chocolate for his wife. Surely the colonial authority concluded a man serving his wife breakfast in bed could only be the work of the devil.
Oh, God forbid.
Quote, all this cannot be a natural thing. The court commented about his testimony. Cecilia was sent to jail. Other testimonies hinged not upon sorcery that compelled husbands to prepare chocolate, but magic served to men in hot chocolate itself. Quote, a lot of women who got accused of being witches were widows or single or were active in local economies, Martha says. Like Cecilia, many of these women whose stories Martha uncovered used potions to defy traditional roles of wife and mother and to assert their sexual agency. One mother-daughter pair, the wealthy mulatto or African and European widow Francisca de Agreda and her daughter Juana, mixed their pubic hair and nail clippings into a cup of hot chocolate. They served the brew to Juana's love interest, the local village priest.
Oh my God.
But they were thwarted by their slave, who reported the women to the local authorities as witches.
Oh.
Maria de Santa Inez, meanwhile, described the contemporaries as a, quote, one-eyed, dark-skinned mulata, end quote. Earned the nickname, oh God.
La panecito.
What does that mean? Oh, the pastry.
Or little bread.
Yeah. Earned the nickname La Panecito, the pastry, for allegedly feeding her enemies bewitched chocolate pastries. Several neighbors testified to her nefarious motives. Dona Luisa del Galvez, Dona, meanwhile, didn't want revenge for her seduction. She just wanted her husband to stop beating her.
Dude.
Following the, yeah.
This reminds me of chocolate.
I know.
Right?
I agree. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Following the advice of the indigenous healer named Anita, she washed her genitals with water and mixed the water with magic green and cinnamon-hued powders in a cup of hot chocolate. The healer went to a religious jail. We don't know if Dona Luisa was ever freed from prison for her marriage.
Oh, wow.
What the hell? All right. Lastly, records don't reveal what became of
Melchora de los Reyes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
The woman who mixed magic powder into her faithless husband's hot chocolate. Colonial officials, after all, weren't concerned with the hope and strength of a woman who, like so many before and after, was pushed to the fringes of society by the carelessness of a man she loved. So totally Maria Owens.
Yeah.
To the Inquisition, de los Reyes, a descendant of slaves in touch with indigenous magic and able to turn a daily act of feminine servility into an assertion of erotic power, was a threat to be stomped out. But thanks to scholars such as Martha and the Latinx women who continue to pass down traditional healing today, stories like de los Reyes live on. The Spanish may have colonized an entire hemisphere, but they could never defeat the magic of everyday women.
You know what that also kind of reminds me of? That book, Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Oh, Clarissa Estes, something Estes.
Yeah. And it just kind of reminds me of like throughout history, there's so many folk tales and stories of women's magic trying to be stomped out by these men who feared for their masculinity and need to cage a woman in order to feel powerful and stronger about themselves. And it's like, no, women are reclaiming their power now after all of these centuries of men trying to stomping out their power. And it's like, if you were a woman who stood in your power, you were a fucking witch.
Yep.
And men were always intimidated by that.
Yep.
So that one story that you read before, it just fucking made me laugh so hard, where that man feared for his masculinity being diminished because he couldn't get an erection.
And he was serving his wife breakfast.
Like, nah, bro, you just have small dick energy.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. Like,
Oy vey.
not your wife. It's your own freaking problem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Anyway,
Do we need a break yet? How are we doing?
I guess we could throw a break in here just for the sake of
If you need it, you need it. If you don't need it, that's
right.
fine. Okay.
All right.
When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about cacao and the Inca culture. We have a few articles from jester.com that are absolutely amazing, so you're going to want to stick around for those. We also have how chocolate shows up in film and why does it film so well, I guess.
Mhm.
And a little bit more about chocolat and taking back your power. So stick around, we'll be right back. You're listening to the Magnolia Street Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back, everybody.
This is a juicy episode.
This is a big girl.
This is a big
She's
girl.
a chocolatey girl.
Yeah, my chocolatey. All right, we're going to jump right into conjuring with Coca and the Inca. The Andeanization of Lima's Afro-Peruvian ritual specialists from 1580 to 1690. And this article, this is one of those jester articles?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was written by Leo J. Garofalo, and this is from volume...
Mark Ruffalo?
Is it?
Not Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, Ruffalo. No, this is Garofalo, like Janine Garofalo? Is that...
Yeah, but isn't Mark Ruffalo, or isn't he like the Hulk?
It's Mark
Isn't there an actor?
Yeah, but it's just Ruffalo, not Garofalo.
Sorry.
You're mixing up your Ruffalos.
My Ruffalos are mixed.
Your Garoffalos. So this
Okay.
is from volume 63, number 1, from the African diaspora in the colonial Andes. And this was written, I guess, July 2006. So Kristina says, this is 26 pages, so we'll link the full article if you'd like to read it. But this article explores the important role played by African diaspora communities in the Americas, specifically focusing on Afro-Peruvian ritual specialists in the Andes during the 16th and 17th centuries. These individuals had a significant impact on colonial society, contributing to various aspects of everyday life such as subsistence, activities, housing, language, religion, and artistic expression. Cocoa, an ancient plant deeply rooted in the cultural fabric of Peru, holds a mysterious allure that transcends time and space. Beyond its renowned culinary uses, cocoa has been intimately associated with practices of magic and ritual throughout history. This article explores the fascinating interplay between cocoa and the mystical realms, shedding light on the ancient traditions, the rituals, the beliefs, and the magical practices that have surrounded this revered plant for centuries. The sacred leaf, cocoa in ancient Andean cultures. In indigenous Andean cultures, cocoa leaves held profound spiritual significance. Seen as a bridge between the material and spiritual realms, the cocoa leaf served as a conduit for magical practices and sacred ceremonies. Rituals associated with cocoa cultivation, harvest, and preparation were accompanied by chants, invocations, and symbolic gestures evoking the power of the Inca Empire and invoking the blessings of the natural world. The cocoa leaf was revered as a source of wisdom, protection, and spiritual guidance, shaping the lives and beliefs of the ancient Andean communities. Magical specialists and the art of conjuring. As time progressed and colonial influences seeped into Peru, a new class of magical specialists emerged. These individuals, drawing upon diverse ethnocultural traditions of magic and supernatural power, became adept at harnessing the mystical powers of cocoa. Through their intricate knowledge of herbs, rituals, and chants, they wielded the cocoa's leaves' power to effect change in the physical and spiritual realms. The specialists' ability to blend different sources of power from various cultural communities allowed them to build a reputation and attract a diverse clientele. These magical specialists recognized the unique qualities of cocoa leaves and their potential for influencing the outcomes of various endeavors. By combining the wisdom of indigenous Andean traditions with their own acquired knowledge, they developed rituals and practices that tapped into the inherent magic of cocoa. These rituals often involved the chanting of ancient incantations, the arrangement of cocoa leaves in specific patterns, and the invocation of spiritual beings associated with cocoa. Let's talk about the rituals of power and unity, cocoa circles, and conviviality. One of the remarkable aspects of cocoa magic was its capacity to bridge social divides and foster cooperation. In Lima's colonial era, cocoa gatherings brought together people from different backgrounds and social hierarchies. These cocoa circles, led by magical specialists, engaged in rituals that involved chewing cocoa leaves as a communal practice. Through shared experiences, invocations, and the exchange of energy, these gatherings created a sense of unity transcending ethnic and social boundaries. The power of the cocoa leaf became a medium for conviviality, cooperation, and even the resolution of personal issues. So within these cocoa circles, participants experienced a profound connection to one another and to the spiritual realm. The act of chewing cocoa leaves became a transformative experience, enabling individuals to tap into their inner power and engage with the forces beyond the physical world. Through chants and invocations, the cocoa circles invoked the presence of ancestral spirits and nature deities, seeking their guidance and protection. These rituals served as a catalyst for community cohesion, enable individuals to share their joys, sorrows, and aspirations in a sacred space. Cocoa consumption not only had a social function, but also facilitated the bridging of social divides. Even a poor Afro-Peruvian widow in Lima, who was not a specialist, would gather people in her home to chew coca. These gatherings sometimes included nuns, and proxies would masticate the coca on behalf of more, quote, respectable women. In some cases, a separate coca circle was formed, which even included a man working for the Holy Office of the Inquisition. What?
He's doing the witchcraft, but he's part of the Inquisition.
Interesting.
It's like John Hathorne sleeping with Maria.
Right. He's bridging the gap between
Yeah.
religion and magic. So these coca sessions often foster cooperation and conviviality similar to sharing a meal or drink. When chewing coca in a group, social coca chewers sought to retrieve loved ones, bestow wealth and esteem, and harm enemies or rivals. Both lone specialists and women's coca circles would respectfully conjure the power of the herb itself and the imagined power of the Inca, who was believed to have revered coca in their empire. Specialists and their apprentices would lovingly stroke and caress the leaves, invoking both the coca and the Inca in deferential tones. Afro-Peruvian women would chant invocations such as the conjuring the coca to bring a specific man to them with the assistance of the, quote, lame devil. Invoking the Inca took various forms, including toasting him with wine and calling upon him in Quechua to be beloved and wealthy. Visualizations of the Inca astride a horse with his wife were even claimed by some specialists when peering into a basin filled with coca and wine. Do you think it's port?
Possibly.
You said port and chocolate go well together, so could be they could have blended the two for this ritual.
Indeed.
Praising the coca leaf, invoking the Inca and his official consort, and recognizing their indigenous nobility and power were important features of ritual ceremonies during this period. Do you think this is kind of like, what do they call those ceremonies? Like you go to in Peru?
Ayahuasca?
Yes.
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. That'd be it. Like, do you think it's kind of like along the same deal? Like,
I don't think there's massive amounts of vomit and diarrhea with the cacao.
right.
But maybe it's like ayahuasca light. Like
right,
it's still
like
reverent.
Like, I don't think they're tripping balls on cacao.
Right.
But I do think that they're using it with the same intention in mind to ascend to a higher sense of self or to get in touch with the spiritual realm, which is kind of like what you're doing with ayahuasca. But ayahuasca, you're doing with the hallucinogenic properties also coming into play, where I don't think that's happening here. But I do think that there may be a similar intention in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So let's talk about colonial adaptations and persecutions. As colonialism took hold, the proliferation of magical items and the increasing ceremonial use of cocoa prompted the church to intervene. The archbishop's campaigns aimed to extirpate perceived idolatries and suppress the expanding cocoa rituals. Of course, the Catholic Church is trying to control everything, even remotely pagan or anything spiritual that doesn't involve them. They're going to stick their nose in and be nosy about it. The Inquisition too sought to quell the magical practices associated with the cocoa, fearing their potential to undermine church authority. However, despite their efforts, cocoa magic persisted, deeply embedded in the cultural fabric of Peruvian society. The magical specialists adapted their practices to navigate the changing landscape of colonial Peru. They blended elements of indigenous Andean traditions with European mystical influences, creating a syncretic approach to magic that allowed them to continue their work while appeasing the church's scrutiny. These adaptations included incorporating Christian prayers, symbols, and rituals into their cocoa ceremonies, subtly merging the old and the new, the sacred and the profane. So the profane, which is what the Catholic Church, they consider these cocoa rituals profane because they are not of Christ. They're a little more...
I guess it's just not dogma. It's not
Right.
the status quo of tradition.
Right. They're a little more on the pagan spectrum, I guess you could say.
And it's also, when we get to talking about chocolat, it's like chocolate is so sensual. It's such a luxury item, which the Catholic Church is not about any of that.
Right. And we know that the Count, right? He was called the Count, Alfred Lopez?
Yes.
He was all about the Lent, right?
All about the Lent.
All about the Lent and temptation, and chocolate's just trying to tempt you. It's of the devil, and it's all that stuff. So the Catholic Church wanted to regulate it because it was kind of like that sensual temptress, I guess you could say. So legacy and cultural significance. The enduring legacy of cocoa and its association with magic and ritual speak to the profound impact it has had on the cultural traditions of Peru. Today, the mystical allure of cocoa remains, captivating the imagination and curiosity of people around the world. It serves as a testament to the power of ritual, belief, and the interplay between diverse cultural traditions. The cocoa leaf continues to symbolize the harmony between humans and the natural world, the bridging of spiritual realms, and the enduring pursuit of magical knowledge. Cocoa, or cacao, I guess. Are they the same thing? Cocoa and cacao?
I don't
Do you
think
know
so.
the difference between those? You want to
Let me look it up. Yeah.
Go down that rabbit hole while I finish off this article. So, cocoa, a plant steeped in mysticism, has left an indelible mark on the history, culture, and beliefs of Peru. From its sacred roots in ancient Andean rituals to its adaptations in the colonial era, cocoa has been a powerful conduit for magical practices and rituals. The chants, invocations, and rituals associated with cocoa reveal a profound connection between humanity and the mystical forces that surround us. As we delve into the rich tapestry of cocoa and its magical heritage, we gain a deeper understanding of the cultural significance and the transformative power that this ancient leaf holds. The mysteries of cocoa continue to unfold, beckoning us to explore the realms of magic and spirituality, inviting us to partake in the enchanted journey it offers.
Nice.
So what did you find?
We should have probably looked this up top because
Okay.
I can't use these interchangeably. So
All right.
according to this, cacao generally refers to the unaltered whole seeds of the cacao fruit, while cocoa is the powder made from grinding and pressing roasted cacao seeds.
Got it. All right. So cocoa is the powder, cacao is the seed.
Yes, the unadulterated seed cacao.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You can take this one too because there's a lot of fucking Spanish in
Jesus.
this one too.
There's what?
There's a lot of Spanish in this one too.
Oh, jeez. Okay. These articles, again, we are summing these up for you. Those articles that we just read were summations of Gestar full articles. So if you guys want the full articles for more in-depth studies, check out our show notes and we'll link everything that we're talking about today. This next article is called The Power of Chocolate, and this is about tracking the chemical signature of cacao. Now, cacao, the seed, not the powder, right?
Yeah.
Across Mesoamerica. This is by Blake Edgar, and this is from Archaeology, Volume 63, Number 6. So the discovery and analysis of ancient pottery have provided insights into the history and significance of cacao in pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. When the Spaniards arrived in the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan in 1519, they witnessed the importance of cacao, as it was served as a beverage to King Montezuma, which we talked a little bit about before. The Aztecs associated cacao with success in relationships, and studies have shown that certain compounds in chocolate can trigger feelings of attraction. However, cacao held broader cultural and economic significance for the Aztecs and other Mesoamerican civilizations. It was used in rituals, including funerals and marriage celebrations, and even served as a form of currency. Marriage celebrations, that's why Sally had it at her wedding.
There you go.
Until recently, the historical understanding of cacao was limited, but advances in chemical analysis have expanded our knowledge. Researchers from the Hershey Company analyzed ancient pottery using techniques like high-performance liquid chromatography and mass spectrometry to identify traces of theobromine, a compound found in cacao. This research has pushed back the origins of cacao beverages by 2,000 years to at least 1500 BC or even earlier.
Damn.
The study of cacao residues began in the 1980s when Grant Hall, a Harvard graduate student, discovered a vessel with cacao residue in a Maya tomb in Guatemala. He contacted W. Jeffrey Hurst, an analytical chemist at the Hershey Center for Health and Nutrition, who confirmed the presence of theobromine, providing evidence of cacao use between AD 460 and 480.
Dang.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Further research in Belize's Batsub Cave and the Maya site of Colha in Belize revealed additional traces of theobromine in ancient pottery. These findings extended the earliest evidence of cacao use between 600 and 400 BC. Before Christ, that's crazy. The discoveries have shed light on the role of cacao in elite burials and its significance as a symbol of status and a means to secure a successful afterlife. Overall, the analysis of the ancient pottery has deepened our understanding of the history, cultural significance, and economic importance of cacao in Mesoamerican civilizations. The 3 pots that tested positive were the only ones sampled that archaeologists had not cleaned after excavation. So Powys, now at Kennesaw State University in Georgia, learned an important lesson. If you really want to find out what people were eating or drinking, don't wash anything. So this is archaeologists that are saying we need to preserve anything that you find at an archaeological site so we can find all that stuff out.
I want to say about this article, this one was filled with pictures. It looked like it was part of a magazine. It was really, really nice. So if you want to go see the jars and the pottery and the seeds and some of the symbols and hieroglyphs we're going to talk about, check out this link because it was filled with photos.
Fascinating. Archaeologists Rosemary Joyce and John Henderson, in collaboration with W. Jeffrey Hurst and Patrick McGovern, conducted research in the Rio Ulila Valley of western Honduras, focusing on the site of Puerto Escondido.
I lived in Escondido when I was in California. That was the town I lived in, was Escondido when I lived in California.
Yeah. I've never heard of that town. Is it
I liked your inflection, your orifice that you put on Escondido.
Escondido. Puerto Escondido. I've watched many a telenovela and
I bet. I can tell.
They're so dramatic about all their pronunciations. Anyway, so they aim to investigate the early consumption of cacao beverages before the rise of the Maya civilization. Puerto Escondido was initially settled in the early pre-classic period between 1800 and 1000 BC during the emergence of permanent settlements. Using a destructive process, the team pulverized pottery samples from the site to analyze theobromine trapped within them. Despite no visible residues on the pottery surface, the researchers selected 13 sherds representing various vessel forms that were potentially used for serving or drinking a special beverage, presumably cacao. Analysis confirmed the presence of theobromine in 11 of the samples. Among the findings were a bottle spout fragment dating back to at least 1150 BC and 10 slightly younger sherds. Although pottery dating to the oldest period of the site's history was too rare to test, Joyce speculates that cacao use at Puerto Escondido extends even further back in time to around 1700 BC.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The earliest pottery at Puerto Escondido consisted of intricately decorated small bowls and necklace jars called tecomates, which may have functioned as individual drinking vessels. Around 1400 BC, larger bowls and tall bottles with a central spout appeared, suggesting that cacao beverages were consumed not just individually but also in larger groups, possibly during community celebrations. Joyce notes that decorated pottery associated with cacao was found in households throughout Puerto Escondido, indicating a shared availability of cacao. While early pre-classic cultures are generally considered egalitarian, Joyce and Henderson proposed that cacao parties could have been a way for certain individuals with access to higher quality polychrome pots to seek greater social status. These individuals may have used elaborate feasts featuring cacao to create social obligations, potentially laying the foundation for the belief among Mesoamerican societies that select members had the right to rule over others. Ultimately, this research challenges previous assumptions about the origins of cacao consumption and its role in the development of complex social structures in Mesoamerica. The findings suggest that the strategic use of cacao by a select few in the early preclassic period may have played a role in the later belief systems and power structures of civilizations such as the Aztec and the Maya. There's a little glyph here, and it kind of looks like a person, like a head, right? And what is that thing on the left-hand side? So it says, in the 5th century AD, the Mayan glyph for cacao, K-A-K-A-W, or as we spell it, cacao, C-A-C-A-O, was written by doubling the syllable ka, K-A. K, K-A-Y, is the Mayan word for fish, represented by both a fish and a fin. Interesting.
I did not know that.
I did not know that. So we will post, we'll put that glyph in the show notes so you guys can see that yourself. It's really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
So in addition to their research on the early consumptions of cacao beverages at Puerto Escondido, Rosemary Joyce and John Henderson made another significant observation. They proposed that in early pre-classic period, the people were likely fermenting the sweet, creamy pulp of cacao pods to create an alcoholic beverage similar to chicha beer, made from maize, which contains around 5% alcohol. It was only later that Mesoamericans discovered that fermenting the cacao seeds along with the pulp could be used to make chocolate drinks. Before fermentation, the cacao seeds were unpalatable and comparable to apple pits. Ooh, they're like bitter, I guess.
Yeah.
The fermentation process was crucial in developing this distinctive taste of chocolate. This suggests that chocolate was an accidental byproduct of prehistoric brewing techniques. Is that where we get like Yoo-hoo? Remember
Yeah.
Yoo-hoo?
Yes.
Oh, I loved Yoo-hoo back in the day. Or Nestle Quick, right? Like those chocolatey drinks. So in late 2007, shortly after the findings at Puerto Escondido were announced, Terry Powys and his colleagues reported even older evidence of cacao use.
This stuff keeps going back and back and back. They're like, we found it. Just kidding. We have an older one.
Yeah, this is nuts. So they discovered cacao residues on potsherds from 2 pre-classic sites in Mexico, El Manati and Olmec village, and Paso de la Amada, where the Mocaya people constructed the earliest identified ball court in Mesoamerica.
Oh, like in that movie, Road to El Dorado.
You know, I don't think I ever saw that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Have you seen Apocalypto?
Yes.
That was so good.
Great movie.
Really good. Okay,
Great
go ahead.
movie. Yeah. Paso de la Amada, located near the Pacific coast of Chiapas, also had the region's earliest ceramics, particularly thin-walled vessels used for serving liquids. W. Jeffrey Hurst analyzed a sherd from a necklace tecomate jar that was buried deep in backfill beneath the floor of the site's largest and most significant structure. This jar, which could date back to as early as 1900 BC, when the Mocaya first settled the village, contained theobromine. Thus, for now, the people of Paso de la Amada represent the earliest known consumers of cacao.
Let's give a hand.
Are we sure?
I think they found it.
The most recent discovery by Hurst's lab reveals an expansion of ancient cacao's reach to the American Southwest, specifically the ancestral Puebloan site of Pueblo Bonito in Chaco Canyon, New Mexico.
Isn't that funny that it's Choco, like chocolate?
Oh,
Choco,
yeah.
Chaco Canyon.
Chaco Canyon. Love the
Get all your chocolate.
In the 1920s, archaeologist Neil Judd unearthed a cache of 111
Cash? I think it's cash.
because, see, now my mind is like Spanish now.
You're stuck in Spanish.
I'm just stuck in Spanish. Unearthed a cache of 111 tall distinctive cylinder jars in an older sector of Pueblo Bonito. Sorry, I'm like, yeah, my brain
That
is
was perfect.
My brain is stuck. So cache, yes, a cache of 111 tall distinctive cylinder jars in an older sector of Pueblo Bonito. These jars, adorned with black and white geometric designs, caught the attention of archaeologist Patricia Crown from the University of New Mexico. Crown, noting the similarity between these cylinder jars and painted jars from Maya sites, consulted with Maya ceramic specialist Dori Reins-Boudet from the Smithsonian. Reins-Boudet informed Crown that glyphs on Maya vessels indicated their use for holding cacao beverages, and intrigued by this connection, Crown speculated about the presence of cacao at Chaco Canyon. Previous archaeological evidence had indicated exchanges between Chaco and Mesoamerica, including the discovery of Mexican silver and macaw skeletons, which are parrots, at Pueblo Bonito. Crown considered it more feasible to transport cacao beans than live macaws, further supporting the idea of cacao in Chaco.
Okay.
Yeah, this is nuts.
I know.
So now they're talking about cacao in macaw skeletons. I don't know.
This is a rabbit hole.
It is a rabbit hole. Due to the lack of glyphs or written evidence of the Chacoan vessels, Crown decided to investigate the presence of chemical traces of cacao. She selected 5 potsherds from ancient trash mounds near Pueblo Bonito, believed to be from cylinder jars or pitchers.
Am I dumb? I've never heard of it called a sherd before. But
Is
that's
that
how it's written in this. Not a shard, a sherd.
Right.
So she's pronouncing it right. I've just never heard of it before.
I'm wondering if that's like archaeological terminology.
A sherd.
Yeah, or maybe it is a sherd just like anything of archaeological finding. Like, you know, like maybe it's not referencing like a shard, like a pot shard, but maybe a sherd is just like another term for something that they find in an archaeological dig. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
I gotta go take a sherd.
Gotta take a sherd. I love it.
Go ahead.
Although no visible surface residue was present on the ceramics, Crown left the sherds unwashed in the case the clay had absorbed any ancient contents. The pot sherds were ground into a fine powder and analyzed by Hurst. 3 samples that were likely from cylinder vessels tested positive for theobromine, a chemical found in cacao. The fact that theobromine had permeated the clay suggested that these vessels had contained a beverage made from cacao, rather just intact cacao seeds. So the timing of cacao's appearance at Pueblo Bonito raises intriguing questions about its role in Chaco. Pueblo Bonito was built between the years AD 860 and 1128, and the cylinder vessels appeared after AD 1000, coinciding with the period of monumental construction in the canyon. The concentration of cylinder vessels within Pueblo Bonito indicates the possibility of tight control over cacao production and consumption, possibly restricted to certain individuals. Crown and Hurst suggested in their publication in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that the growth of Chaco Canyon, particularly Pueblo Bonito, might have been linked to the ability of select individuals to acquire Mesoamerican objects, cacao, macaws, and possess esoteric knowledge of Mesoamerican ritual practices. So I like how it goes from like chocolate to parrots. Like what? I don't understand the connection there. I'm sorry. Am I missing like a connection here?
I don't know.
What the fuck? Anyway, the value of a cacao bean at Chaco Canyon, located 1,200 miles from the nearest natural source, would have been incredibly high. Considering that in 16th century Mexico, where cacao was abundant, a single cacao seed could be used to purchase a tamale. One can only speculate about the purchasing power of cacao seed in the arid Southwest. Chocolate would have been an unimaginable luxury and a source of power in that region.
Yeah.
Do you want to take these last 2 paragraphs? Because I need to take a sip of
All right. So Hurst's chemical analysis has significantly changed our understanding of the origins of Mesoamerican chocolate beverages. However, the exact timing and process by which cacao took root in the region still remains a mystery. Many scholars believe that the native range of Theobroma cacao is the Amazon basin, and that it must have been introduced to Mesoamerica through a gradual process. Cacao trees are not easily grown from seed, requiring years to mature, and they only thrive in humid lowland forests. In tropical climates, cacao pods spoil quickly, making their transport on long journeys by foot or canoe unlikely. In the absence of archaeological evidence of cacao between the Amazon and Mesoamerica, archaeologist Michael Blake of the University of British Columbia suggests that people may have carried cacao seeds northward along the Andes through Colombia and Venezuela. As they traveled, they would have planted trees and waited for them to bear fruit. Local cuisines likely incorporated cacao pods as a source of fat or carbohydrates, and eventually some proto-chocolatiers would have discovered that cacao produced a delicious beverage. These unknown forest dwellers initiated a process that would, hundreds or even thousands of years later, become a central feature of Mesoamerican culture and give rise to a modern industry producing over 7 million tons of chocolate annually to
Wow.
satisfy the global craving for this indulgence. And then, lastly, they had this little bit on making chocolate. The Popol Vuh, a sacred Mayan text, notes that the gods created people from a few essential foods, including cacao. People, in turn, learn how to create a delicacy fit for godlike kings from the fruit of the cacao tree. Theobroma, Greek for food of the gods.
I guess that's where the theobromine comes from, right?
Right.
Theobroma.
There was another article I'll talk about in a second called Food of the Gods, I think. But today, sweet chocolate confections bear little resemblance to the savory concoctions of ancient Mesoamerica. The way the Mayan made their chocolate required several steps. First, ripe cacao pods were gathered from the forest or garden plot and cut open to remove the seed or beans and their surrounding fleshy pulp. The single pod contains enough beans to make 7 modern cups of chocolate. Dang.
Wow.
Letting the beans germinate and ferment for several days was essential to achieving chocolate's familiar flavor. They were then set out in the sun to dry for a week or two. Roasting the beans over a flame imparted still more flavor and aroma. The husks were then removed, leaving behind nibs. There we go. That would be ground on a stone metate into a paste, which would have tasted like unsweetened dark chocolate. Other ingredients were then added to enhance the flavor or medicinal benefit, including maize, chiles, flowers, or vanilla pods. That sounds really good. Water was then added to create a chocolatey beverage. Like today's cappuccino, connoisseurs, elite Maya and Aztec cherished foam atop their chocolate. Froth enhanced the beverage's aroma and taste, and may also have had symbolic significance. Middle and late pre-classic Mayan vessels with stubby spouts may have been used to froth the liquid inside with blown air. That's cool. During the classic period, producing foam became a ritual performance that involved pouring chocolate between decorated cylinder vessels from a standing height. And this was also a picture in this magazine, which I wanted to include, but Evernote did its thing.
Yeah.
So go check that out. There were 2 other articles that I was going to go down the rabbit hole, but god dang, this was long enough.
God.
The one was called, I think it's actually a series.
Okay.
So it's just called Chocolate by Margarita de Orellana. And number 1 is called Chocolate Cultivation and Culture in Pre-Hispanic Mexico. The second part in the series is Chocolate Número 2, Mysticism and Cultural Blends. And the third installment is called Ritual, Art, and Memory. And the other one I kind of mentioned is called Food of the Gods as Mortal's Medicine, the Use of Chocolate and Cacao Products. And this is by Martha Macra Graziano. And this was published in the University of Wisconsin Press. So we'll link both of those. If you are into Mayan and Aztec culture and want to know more, we got you covered.
Yeah, I also found a really pretty cacao ritual. I want to include that before we sign off.
Sure.
I thought that would just be something so pretty to leave you guys with if you wanted to explore cacao for yourself and connect with it if you want to incorporate it into your spiritual practice. Because it is such a spiritual...
It's like tea.
Yeah.
You know how tea had its very special...
Yeah.
It needs to be drank slowly.
Yes.
Prepared slowly.
Yes, and people use the cacao in more of a spiritual sense, like in a ceremony, and they make like a whole ritual out of it. So we'll tell you a little bit more about how you could do that a little later on.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now we're going to talk about chocolate and film, right?
The movies.
The
More
movie.
movies. Okay,
Yeah.
take me to the films.
All right, so this is an article called More Emotion Than Food, Chocolate Does Well on Film, and this is by Jana J. Monji from the LAtimes.com. So chocolate, in all its seductive and even magical glory, has long been a popular topic in movies. Using it as a delicious treat and a metaphor for earthly temptations, filmmakers often cover chocolate with fanciful confections and bittersweet contemplations. The latest is director Lasse Hallström's Chocolat, a sweet fable about a woman, Vianne Rocher, like Ferrero Rocher.
Bien Rocher. Yeah.
Do you like Ferrero Rocher?
No.
No, yeah, it's
Sorry.
my mom's like obsessed with that shit.
Juliette Binoche.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
so pretty.
Yeah, she's great. So yeah, Vianne Rocher is played by Juliette Binoche, and her character blows into this isolated French village with her daughter in tow and opens a how do you say that word?
Chocolatery.
Chocolatery. Based on Joanne Harris's novel of the same name, the movie uses chocolate to symbolize the liberating powers of pleasure. Vianne dispenses chocolates as therapy, finding the right candy cure for each person and disturbing the self-righteous Comte de Renaud, played by Alfred Molina, with this devilish decadence. Renaud uses his influence on the young new priest, I guess played by Hugh O'Connor, to make his crusade against Vianne's of religious matter, and we'll talk a little bit more about this a little later on. Harris isn't the only one who thinks chocolate can be revealing. In his book, Chocolate Therapy, Dare to Discover Your Inner Center, New Zealand hypnotherapist Marie Langham states that the chocolate shapes you choose, the centers you like reveal the inner workings of your mind, your character traits, and sexual habits. Chocolate has a rich history outside the movies. Cacao beans, the basis for chocolate, which we just talked about, were used by the Aztecs and Mayans as a form of currency. Brought to Europe, the cacao tree soon began to work its magic. Duly impressed, Swedish naturalist Linnaeus gave it the botanical name Theobroma cacao or the food of the gods.
Carl Linnaeus?
I guess so.
That's our boy who's been naming all of our other episodes.
The botanist?
Yeah.
There you go. It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Yeah. Chocolate has been a source of intrigue. Cacao beans were once smuggled into countries, and chocolate's heavy taste masked bitter poisons. At the cinema in Alfred Hitchcock's 1936 Secret Agent, a Swiss chocolate factory was used as a message center for German spies. Interesting. More often, chocolate in the movies has been a long offering in 1941's The Chocolate Soldier, in which chocolate was simply a bonbon exchanged between two bickering spouses, Nelson Eddy and Rhys Stevens. Experts say that chocolate in all its forms is particularly appealing to women. I wonder why that is.
I wonder what.
Julie Fels, a senior market manager for the Belgian-based Godiva chocolatier, the official chocolate of chocolat, noted that its customers are mostly women, except on Valentine's Day when the customers are predominantly men. Because I guess, yeah, men are usually buying these delicious morsels because they know us women love it so much. Because, I wonder why. Why do we love it when we're like going through that premenstrual phase? I don't know why that is.
I don't know.
Just crave it.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm so sorry.
Well, I know I crave it. But Michael Schneider, editor and publisher of Chocolatier magazine, concurred, saying chocolate addiction is a female thing. Chocolate is the most popular food among women. Among men, it's pizza. Schneider also noted that his readership is 87% female. Coraline agrees. Do you hear her?
Kitty cats cannot have the chocolate.
No, they cannot. Yeah, no, don't give your cats chocolate. So it's hardly surprising that a recent Canadian film about women and their love relationships would be called Better Than Chocolate. On the brink of another divorce, one character declares, "And since I probably won't be having sex again, chocolate is the only pleasure left for me." Schneider noted that with the growing popularity in the US of European-style chocolates, the image of the sweet has become more upscale. Still, in America, attitudes tend to place chocolate as a guilty pleasure because of dietary reasons. Yet, in the movies, he noted chocolate has always been treated as an emotion and not as a food.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. In the 1992 Mexican movie based on Laura Esquivel's novel, food was an emotion, and the frustrated lover's passions boiled in like water for chocolate. Perhaps more than any of the other chocolate-related movies, the magical realism of Alfonso Arau's movie matches Chocolat in its fanciful fairy tale tone.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I've never seen that one. Have you never seen that one? Like Water?
No.
Isn't there also a movie called like Death by Chocolate or something like that?
I don't know. I'm going to put this other one on our list, though.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of chocolate movies that I probably haven't seen, but In Chocolat, Vianne says, chocolate, I am told, is not a moral issue. But in fact, chocolate has been used to explore societal ills. In the 1988 French language movie, also named Chocolat, chocolate is the skin color of a separate world in a West African French colony in which whites hold the upper hand. Franco Bursati's 1973 film Bread and Chocolate, there's another one,
Oh my God.
comically examines similar issues. In this case, Swiss prejudices against Italian immigrants to that country, bread representing the Italians, chocolate representing the Swiss. Interesting. I never saw that one either. Modern morality was sugar-coated into an instructional movie on manners in 1971's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes, ma'am.
The Oompa Loompas warn, what do you get when you guzzle down sweets? Eating as much
as an elephant eats.
The question is rhetorical. The gluttonous Augustus Gloop has already fallen into the river of chocolate and had been sucked up by the undertow and sent via a tube to a different part of the factory. 3 other bad-mannered children suffer similar fates. Gluttony is also the topic of Who is Killing the Great Chefs of Europe, a 1978 movie in which a chocolate bomb becomes explosive. A saucier chocolate scene is the more recent Cousin Betty, where the married sculptor Wenceslas, played by Aidan Young, slathers his father-in-law's mistress, played by Elizabeth Shue, with chocolate and frolics in a restaurant's private room for some high-class hedonism.
Oh my.
What the hell? Going back to the Willy Wonka thing real quick, like even in that movie, the chocolate is being used as like kind of like a temptation. Like it's tempting all these children to kind of act out of line and then reward the one who is able to have the most willpower and resist, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
What?
I don't like that. It's just like it's all about resistance and not giving in to your desires, which is kind of bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
The scene in that movie that always freaked me out, not necessarily that whole trippy ass boat scene, but you know how they're like splicing clips over top of it? There's a scene of a centipede crawling across somebody's mouth, I think.
Ooh.
That terrifies me.
Is this
It's
the
so
original
gross.
with Gene Wilder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How do you feel about the remake with Willy Wonka, Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp. I don't know if I remember watching the whole way through.
Yeah.
I think he commits to everything he does, though.
Oh, 100%. He's just so much creepier. Like,
Yeah.
he kind of has that, like,
Gene Wilder's a kind of charming look about him.
Gene Wilder's super charming, super, like, old-timey, but the Johnny Depp character is very creepy.
Little socio.
Darker undertones, very definitely more of a sociopath, I feel like.
Is it meant to, like, by the end, is he still, like, kind of wide-eyed and bananas?
I don't even remember how that one ended.
Oh, okay.
But I do remember there's like a whole like backstory, like Tim Burton gives him like a whole like memory as a child and his father's a dentist and that's why he's like,
oh my God,
going against his father's wishes because now he's like the head of this chocolate company or empire because fuck his father and he wants to fight him. So
daddy issues.
Interesting spin that Tim Burton gives all of his characters. I have to say that I do like that about Tim Burton. Like he never takes a story and remakes it the way that it's like that we think
expands.
He expands. He goes into backstories. He goes into trauma. Yeah.
Listen, what if Tim Burton takes on a practical magic revamp? Would that have the dark aspects that Griffin Dunn would have wanted to see? I would want to see that.
I would want to see that. That's probably the footage that's laying on the cutting room floor when the studio was like, nah, we got to make this more PG.
Yeah,
and then Griffin made it more PG, and then they're like, nah, this is
no, we don't like it anyway.
We don't like it anyway. What is this? The critics tore it apart, but
eye roll. Insert eye roll.
Besides the point. So while Hallstrom's Chocolat showed the candy as an upscale commodity in France, in the 1993 Cuban movie by director Tomas Gutierrez Alea, Strawberry and Chocolate, I guess that's the name of another movie. In this movie, coffee and chocolate are common, unimaginative choices. So to show sophistication, one develops a taste for tea and strawberry ice cream. Interesting. Perhaps Forrest Gump's famous philosophy, life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get, sums up the use of chocolate in movies. You never know what you're going to get, but it's likely to be tasty.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And I love that's so cute because like, yeah, when you get those box of chocolates, when you don't know what you're biting into, it could be strawberry cream, It could be
Oh,
caramel.
I hate that.
It could be toffee.
I need that little cheat sheet that comes in the lid
You-
to tell me.
Kristina, do you have boxed chocolate anxiety? Maybe that's why you don't like chocolate. Maybe it just comes with so much anxiety and
It's the not knowing. I don't have control.
the not knowing. See, like, I guess I get super Sagittarius about it. I'm like, let's take my taste buds on a little adventure. I don't know what I'm gonna get.
I hope I can be more like you in that sense because Salem has so much to offer and I'm going to be scared to like branch out. So I know you've been there. You know what's good. I trust you.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm all for the taste bud adventure until I get, like, that hard toffee, and then I'm like, spit this shit out. This is or like that, or like the dark chocolate filling. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Spit that shit out. Yeah. Even though that's the best one for me.
This next article, check out that last name. The last name, Lacey Hallstrom.
Oh, yeah. Didn't we just talk about Hallstrom?
We did just talk about Hallstrom, but it was a different person.
In
I just think
reference
that's
to
funny that they're
the
both
movie.
connected.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is called How a Movie About Chocolate Teaches Us the Importance of Change, Exploring Chocolat. And this is on medium.com. So the movie Chocolat captivates viewers with its mesmerizing chocolate visuals, but it also imparts a powerful message about the importance of change. In a society bound by fixed ideas and traditions, the film challenges the notion that change is inherently negative. By examining the fear of the unknown and the consequences of clinging to familiarity, Chocolat highlights the potential for personal growth and expanding perspectives that come with embracing change. So they talk about the fear of change. As humans, we often find comfort in adhering to established ideas and traditions without questioning their validity. Maybe this is why I don't like the surprise of a box of chocolates. I like the status quo. I want to know what I'm getting. Don't surprise me.
Didn't we just have this conversation when I was telling you about the Rocky Horror Show and what they do to people who've never been there before? You're like,
I
can
need
you
to know. Don't surprise me.
fucking tell me?
Validity. We become passive recipients of thoughts and beliefs, relinquishing control over our thinking process. The film explores the concept of metatheophobia.
Metathesiophobia? I don't know. I've never heard that word before, but that sounds right.
Okay. Metathesiophobia, metathesophobia, the fear of change, which leads individuals to resist altering their circumstances due to the overwhelming fear of the unknown.
It's a very overwhelming fear.
Yeah, I gotta highlight that sucker. So within the threat of the unknown, when confronted with unfamiliar situations, it is natural to feel lost and threatened. The film, Chocolat, suggests that this fear binds us to the beliefs that change can bring. By challenging our preconceived notions, change offers the potential for an expanded viewpoint, introducing us to new ideas and emotions that we may have not consciously recognized before. In the film, the residents of a small conservative town are resistant to ideas that originate from outside their community. Their adherence to a traditional religion shapes their principles, viewing any opposing ideas as a threat to their faith. The protagonist, Vienne, defies societal norms as a single mother who is never married, doesn't attend church, and dresses in colorful attire. Consequently, she is regarded as an outcast, undesirable, and a source of temptation.
A witch!
I love that scene where he's like, "Oh, we're looking forward to seeing you at mass," and she's like, "Oh, we don't attend."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?"
Rock their world.
And she is just a rocket in that dress. Like she's always in like that sweet
it.
heartline red dress. She's got such good style.
She's just temptation all around through that town. She just came in like the tornado she rode in on. Remember there was like the big tornado in like the beginning or whatever? Or
Yeah, whenever the winds change.
And at the end too, right? When they decide to leave.
Yes.
Like the winds are changing.
Yes. So Vienne's act of opening a chocolaterie becomes an act of rebellion against the town's established order. Chocolate, considered a luxury good and off limits during the specific fasting season of Lent, symbolizes indulgence and pleasure. Vienne is branded as a temptress who lures people into sinning. The film challenges the conventional understanding of sin and questions how it can be measured in a morally diverse and subjective world. Chocolat possesses an intriguing question. If sinning refers to doing anything we enjoy, as long as it doesn't harm others, then isn't living itself a sin?
Not if you make it miserable like the Catholics try to do.
I know. Yeah. The film suggests that denying ourselves the simple joys and experiences of life prevents us from truly living. It prompts us to reflect on the concept of sin and consider whether it is our exaggerated preconceptions that causes us suffering, rather than the very acts we fear. Through the portrayal of chocolate as a visual representation of sin, Chocolat clearly explores human perceptions of wrongdoing and the importance of stepping outside our comfort zones. Ultimately, the film reveals that indulging in a little chocolate never causes harm. Instead, unless she's given it to that woman, the mom, who has diabetes.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Remember that?
Mm.
Instead, so there's a limit, I guess.
Yeah.
Instead, it is our exaggerated preconceptions and fears that lead us to suffering. And in conclusion, Chocolat serves as a compelling reminder of the transformative power of change and the significance of challenging fixed ideas. By embracing change, we can open ourselves to personal growth, expand perspectives, and a life filled with joy, purpose, and meaning. The film encourages us to reevaluate our notions of sin and to recognize that it is our own fear and resistance to change that hinder our ability to truly live.
Amen.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I love how it uses chocolate as kind of like, fuck it. My brain's, I don't know where I was
It's kind
going.
of like such a harmless thing.
Right.
That's, it's savored, but in this movie, it's like because of the, I don't know, the time of year and the unknown. She is an unknown. She's a stranger coming to town. She doesn't have a husband, unknown. She doesn't go to church, unknown.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions of revolving around her.
And everything about her, even down to her fashion choices and down to, as we talked about before, chocolate just being a sensual food to begin with.
Right.
Like, everything about her was just so sensual and so tempting that it just like drove that what was he, a count? It drove him mad.
Renard, yeah.
It just drove him to the point of insanity, to the point where he himself gave into that temptation. Remember that scene in the window where he just like devours fucking everything, and you're like, I knew it was just a matter of time before you yourself was gonna go down that path. Same path you were warning everybody else about.
It really reminds me of the scene in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the antagonist, Friar, whatever his name is, the priest guy. What the hell's his name?
Do you remember in Sex?
Wait a minute, I gotta get my story out.
Okay.
When he's like singing about hellfire and he's like, this damned woman, she's a witch, whatever, but he's really like wanting her. That's such a sensual scene. Watching it as an adult, he's like wanting, if I can't have her, nobody will.
Is he talking about Esmeralda? Was he talking about?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes
sense.
Jean-Claude
Frollo. Again, the French.
No, I was talking about Friar Fuck. Do you remember in Sex and the City when Samantha decides to go celibate because she goes to this church or whatever? Or she goes to a church with Carrie for some other reason, I forget what. And there's this like friar standing outside, and like he's really attractive, of course, he's like handsome. And she calls him Friar Fuck because she tries so hard to get him to like cross the vows he's taken. Yeah. So she's trying really hard to like seduce him, and it doesn't work. So have you seen Fleabag? No. Oh, it's really good. Speaking of, I can't say it. I'm still Catholic on the inside. And there's also a TikTok of like, I guess in Rome, they come out with like a handsome priest poster, like a calendar. Yeah, the handsome priest calendar. That's hysterical. Oh, shit. Okay, we're almost done. Let's take out some Brasidia real quick. I'll try to get through this really fast. Tell us about dreaming about chocolate, Brasidia. All right. So if you receive chocolate, you will become clear on how to help someone who desires you. Okay. You will find ways to make this person feel comfortable enough to verbalize their feelings, hopes, and plans. This cycle will spur you to tackle big ideas and projects. Go for the golden opportunity. Blessings and luck are with you. If you drink chocolate, you will be harassed by the police because of another person's lifestyle and carelessness. This will occur within a few days and will result in an enormous amount of property damage. Oh my God. I can't make this up. What the fuck? This is not within your control. Stay calm and it will eventually work out. Take it slow and proceed in a step-by-step fashion. You will be able to put your life back in order. If you're eating chocolate, somebody loves you very dearly.
and chocolate in any other form, you will be given a gift of greater mental inventiveness by the gods.
Oh my
Put
goodness.
this gift to practical use in order to change your present circumstances. Sexual favors will also be passionately requested from you. Maintain healthy eating habits and drink plenty of water. Chocolate is lucky in matters of love. You experience much passion and lovemaking, and both of you will cater to each other's needs.
Damn. Well,
Spicy.
that is spicy. It's scandalous. Thanks,
Scandalous.
Kristina.
Totally.
All right, there's a product here that we want to tell you guys a little bit about. So our auntie Laura, she was featured on our Black Soap episode. She has a line of Practical Magic merch where she puts some quotes on some things. She's got these really cute mugs, which would be great for some hot cocoa, some hot chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And on the mug it says, "In this house, we have chocolate cake for breakfast, and we never bother with silly things like
Bedtimes are brushing our teeth."
bedtimes or brushing our teeth. So yeah, check out Enchanted Journal Shop, and that's at etsy.com. And we'll link that below if you guys want to check out these little hot chocolate mugs. They're so cute.
I like these mugs. They're like the traditional enamel, like camping mug, but it's white with black text. And I think she also has this design on prints. And I think a tote bag also. So Auntie Laura, good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
Another one of our listeners, Haley from Lavender for Luck, also has a chocolate cake print that you can probably find over at her shop.
On Etsy, right?
Yeah.
Okie doke. We're gonna leave you guys with some recipes, and there's also a little ceremony you can do if you want to incorporate some cacao into your spiritual regimen or ritual, or however you want to use it. This is from breakfastcriminals.com. So this is a ceremonial cacao recipe for heart opening, and this is a rose elixir. A heart-opening rose elixir. It sounds wonderful. The author is, so I don't know how you say her name, Senia. It's spelled Ksenia. She's a storyteller, public speaker, and founder of the award-nominated digital platform Breakfast Criminals. She also has a podcast.
I'm going to look that up. We'll tell her, hey, girl, hey, we talked about you.
So named 35 under 35 in wellness by Wanderlust and the fashion world's most in-demand breakfast chef, Senia is here to guide you to connect with your own version of self-love through mindful nourishment and rituals. She currently lives in a tiny home in the Catskills and can be found drinking ceremonial cacao at sunset. So ceremonial cacao seems like her shtick, her bag, right? Mm-hmm. So she says in this article, "What is your favorite part of the morning? Mine is my grounding cacao ritual. I sip on ceremonial cacao while setting intentions for the day, followed by meditation, breath work, or a yoga practice." And she recommends the Breathwork app. Some of the links in here, she does say, are affiliate links. So if you want to check out any of these, we'll link this whole article below. So she says, why cacao? Intentionally consuming cacao has been a powerful ally that's massively supported me on my journey in living more fully and from the heart as an entrepreneur and a human. It's what's gave me the confidence to go nomadic, buy a tiny cabin, and launch a podcast. A cacao ritual is a beautiful way to connect to the energy of Gaia and the plant kingdom. So before we get to the recipe, are you new to cacao ceremony and want to learn more about Theobroma cacao? What is cacao ceremony and where the traditions come from? I've done extensive research on this topic, including interviewing experts and traveling to cacao farms in Guatemala. So she's done extensive research on this, and she's traveled the field. So she has tons of resources here. One is a blog post called "What is Cacao Ceremony? Cacao Preparations, Rituals, Physical and Metaphysical Benefits." One is a YouTube video, so I guess she's got a YouTube channel, "How I Created My Morning Ceremonial Cacao Ritual." And 2 are podcast episodes. One is an interview with cacao ceremonialist Florencia Friedman, and the other episode is Keith Wilson's Ceremonial Cacao for Creativity and Business. So she's got quite a few resources here. So she says ceremony cacao recipe creation is a way to tap into your intuition. My cacao elixir recipe differs from day to day and is based on what my body is drawn to. Rose and cacao is a beautiful combination that has a very rounded, soft flavor and a heart-opening effect. This recipe is fantastic if you're on a path of cultivating more self-love through simple daily rituals, or if you want to share a mindful ritual with your partner. Cacao on its own is known as a powerful heart opener, and combining it with rose, which is said to bring love, healing, and compassion, takes this effect to the next level. Some ceremonial cacao blends come pre-mixed with spices. The recipe below is for 100% pure ceremonial cacao. Its purity leaves room to play with, so you can add your own spices if you want to. So this heart-opening rose ceremonial cacao recipe makes 1 serving, and the ingredients are as follows. So you want to use 4 tablespoons of chopped ceremonial cacao. She says, I love Cacao Laboratory Ariba Nacional 100% cacao paste, or 10 cacao discs. She recommends Aura Cacao Tantric Rose Ceremony cacao discs. Both brands generously offer a discount on all products when you use her code Breakfast Criminals.
Not sponsored.
We're not sponsored, no, but this is her, I guess that's her sponsored code. If you want to go to her blog and click on these links, I'm sure you can purchase any of these using her affiliate links. Also, she includes in the ingredient list 1 cup of rose tea. You have options here, so you can use a consciously sourced rose powder from trustworthy brands like Anime Mundi, or make your own rose tea. To make it, you can brew Tulsi sweet rose tea for 3 minutes, or food grade rose petal, 10 minutes in hot water. And you can use a sweetener of your choice, like 1 teaspoon of monk fruit powder, or 1 date, 1 teaspoon of raw honey, or maple syrup. Sweeten it with whatever you want. Use less or more depending on your taste. Traditionally, ceremonial cacao is served with no sweetener at all. It's an acquired taste, so meet your body where it's at. I'm guessing traditional cacao without the sweetener is maybe a little bitter. I really don't know. I've never had it, but she's saying it's an acquired taste. I'm sure it might be a little strong.
It may taste a little funky.
A little funky, yeah. And then she also recommends a pinch of Himalayan salt, probably to offset the sweetness, just to give it that little bit of savory taste.
I love that.
Yeah, a little salt. And there's some optional additives. You can add a splash of nut or seed milk of your choice, 1 to 2 teaspoons of coconut oil to make it extra creamy, and 1 teaspoon of maca for energy and an earthier taste. So the directions are: place all ingredients in a blender and blend until creamy. Start on a low speed, slowly increasing to high while allowing the intention for your cacao ritual to crystallize. Feeling gratitude for cacao medicine. So you really want to let your intentions kind of marinate while you're doing this whole ritual of actually blending and putting these ingredients together. If you want to make cacao with a blender, combine all ingredients into a pot on low heat, let the cacao melt while constantly stirring it, but don't let it boil. Pour the cacao in a cup that feels special. Optionally, add rose petals on top, holding it in front of your heart. And now here's where she says, I invite you to do a little gratitude and intention ritual, which she includes below. Here is her cacao ritual. She says, hold the cacao with your eyes closed and say out loud or silently in your head, I give thanks to the heart of the sky. I give thanks to the heart of the earth. I give thanks to the heart of the fire. I give thanks to the heart of the water. I give thanks to everyone who brought this cacao to me and us. I give thanks to my own heart for showing up and being open to receiving the messages I'm meant to receive. Now you can open your eyes, sip, and play ceremonial music. She even includes a cacao ceremony playlist.
Oh, sick.
She has curated this herself, so we will link this in our show notes. And she says,
love a playlist.
Yeah, and listen to the messages that come through. Write them down in your journal, or you can dance them out if you want to. And she also includes a video where she shares a short cacao prayer and grounding meditation, and we will also link that below. And she says, happy journeying into your heart. Let me know how it goes. So we'll link this whole article. We'll link the playlist. We'll link everything, her videos. This is just a really cool resource. And she seems very well versed in the cacao ceremony realm.
Culture, yeah, it's great.
Very cool. Very cool. I've yet to try a cacao ceremony. There's also another YouTuber, Catalina. Now I'm forgetting her name. But she also is really heavily into the cacao ceremony.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
What was the date? 1800 BC or something like that? And it still lives on today.
Right. I'll have to link her below. I think her name is Caro Arevalo on YouTube. Caro, and her last name is Arevalo, I think. We'll link her below. She also does a lot of cacao ceremonies on her YouTube channel.
I like how that feels like Ala Caravalo.
Caro Arevalo. Something.
Caravalo.
Caro Arevalo. Yeah, I think I don't remember if she's Guatemalan or Peruvian. So I think that's all we got for you guys today.
Awesome. For someone who said initially that they don't like chocolate, by the end, I was like, that sounds really good. you know,
Right?
after talking about it for 4.5 hours, 4.5
Holy,
hours later.
we talked about this a long time. There was like, again, there was so much to cover, and we're not even done with talking about chocolate because in our next episode, as we mentioned earlier, next week we'll be doing another song-a-sode. We're doing Brownies for Breakfast is the name of our next song, and we're going to talk about all of our inspirations for why we wrote that song.
And it's probably good we did this episode first. So then we have, like, we probably made unconscious, not we, you wrote the song, but like unconscious decisions for certain things within that song
Right.
that work within what we just learned.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always just love that alliteration, brownies for breakfast.
I do too. Yeah. Chocolate cake is fine, but brownies for breakfast. I like
As a songwriter, an alliteration is just like, oh, God, just
you're
makes-
like, savor.
Yes. It's like, it's you with trusses. Oh, boys.
And Moxie Bustion.
Moxie Bustion.
I'm going to start doing more of those synesthesia things.
Love it.
I didn't know it happened so much until I was like, what's that thing? There you go.
Did I tell you that same day that we recorded that episode, I was driving Molly and her friend home from school, and I have the radio going. I'm like listening to radio, and I'm like tuning them out. I'm not even listening to them. But then I start hearing them, like I'm overhearing them saying like certain things. They're like Ariana Grande, and one of them is like Pink, and then one of them is like Taylor Swift, and then one of them is like turquoise, and they're like they're mixing like words with colors, and then they started going into like their school subjects, like what is math, and one girl's like, oh, it's yellow, and I was like, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? And they're like, we're matching words with colors, and I was like, you know, there's a name for that, right? They're like,
that's adorable.
What are you talking about? I was like, it's synesthesia. Look it up.
You got schooled, son.
So I just thought it was so strange how like we were just talking about synesthesia that morning, and then that afternoon that they were doing that, and so then I felt all smart, and I was like,
you are smart. You are smart.
It's what it is. Smart. It's what it is.
Find us on Instagram at Magnolia Street Podcast. Send us an email if you'd like, magnoliastreetpodcast@gmail.com. We really appreciate all of our patrons, and if you feel like supporting the podcast, you could go over to patreon.com/Magnolia Street Podcast, where we have tiers from $1 to $15.
Dorleen.
We can't thank you enough for tuning in yet again and listening to us through Magnolia Street Podcast.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Leave us a review crew. We want to hear from you. We should make a little jingle with that.
No.
Well, okay. You just took the wind out of my sails. Fuck you. Me and Avi were listening to.
What happened to the jingles for our patrons?
I know they're on my list. I just have to
love you.
Me and Avi were listening to an episode recently where I said something and you just shut me down. You were like, no. Avi laughed so hard. He was like, well, damn, Kristina.
The other day we were out at the bar and like this guy, you could tell right off the bat he was like sassy and kind of over his day.
Yeah.
And he said it in jest, like humorously, but he was like, what can I get you guys? And I said, I'll take a hazy. He was like, no, what do you want? And he looked at Aaron. I was like, well, goddamn, I feel like I'm at home. Like,
oh my God. So funny. My face hurts. Right, go find us on all the platforms. We're also on TikTok. I think Magnolia Street Pod over there. And yeah, we threw you those Salem dates. So hopefully you guys can come up and meet us there because we're going to be starting to plan some stuff. So hopefully
between now and when this comes out, I'm sure we will sling some more information at you. So you might see the information before this episode comes out, but I hope we get to meet some of you.
Yeah, on the Instagrams. You'll probably hear it there before you hear it here. So, all right. I think we're ready to close out. Are we ready?
I'm ready. Take it away.
Let's bounce. All right. I'm Justina.
I'm Darlene.
And we'll see you next time.
Oh,
we'll work with it. I can work with it. It's fine.
At that house down the street. At that house on Magnolia Street. Would you go down to Magnolia Street where the wisteria grow out? And that house of magic and mystery. So would you go down to Magnolia Street?
Sorry, I was peeing.
You bitch. I've been holding it for like a half hour.
I was going to explode.
Give myself a UTI. Next you later, Donna.
Bye, Dolly.
Bye.
Bye.